Okay, guys, we are back here. We're ready for the live stream. Before we kick this off, a couple of comments here, and I'm sure this will be discussed by you guys out there as well. So Conte in the conference, press conference, if you want to call it that, afterwards, saying that they, as in Chelsea, obviously, were a much better team than us. We have to clap the performance of Chelsea. I'm not sure I'll do that, but I would like to tell the truth. There is a lot of job to do in Tottenham. Stelios, what do you think?
You're talking to a guy that says we're not good enough to get top four. You're talking to a guy that calls his team bang average. I'm glad to see that Conte agrees. There is a massive job to do at Tottenham, and he is doing a great job with an average set of tools. Tonight is once again a reminder of where we're truly at. I don't think we should get downbeat, downhearted. Certainly we shouldn't be clapping Chelsea.
No.
But I think that's a metaphor for him saying, look, they're a good side with good players.
We're still in the game. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still in the game. I'm just clutching at straws here, but we're still in the game. But the other thing as well that Conte was mentioning, he was talking about this is not... He's got to be patient. Fans have got to be patient. That's what he said after the game. He was saying that this isn't something we can switch overnight. It's not something we can switch in one window, but we can in another window as well. Does this mean that he's prepared to indulge in being a Spurs fan mentality for another 6 months at least, to suggest that this isn't something he can fix overnight? It's not something the club can fix overnight, but clearly something that he's mentioned there is quite critical, that the fact that he knows that this is way off what he wants it to be.
Any top manager will look at Tottenham Hotspur and say they are not good enough. The bit about him saying fans need to be patient, he's spot on. And it's something I've tried to do, not that I've got a big enough voice. Humble. Don't get carried away with this top four conversation. Too many fans are getting carried away with it because we've done well against some average teams. And also, as fans, we've got to be realistic with our expectations and what we can do in this one window. The best we can hope for is 2 or 3 top signings. But I do believe, though, and I stick to this, if we buy 2 or 3 top players, the impact they will have can get us top four, because we're not far off Arsenal and Man United. We're in that pack. The difference will be who we buy now, and also what business they do. You know, for example, God forbid, Arsenal buy Vlahovic. It's curtains for us. It's curtains. Yeah. But if they don't and we do, it's curtains for them. So he's right. Be patient. I also think maybe he's just sending another reminder to the board. There's a lot of work here, guys.
Yeah.
You know, you are the main aspect of the work that needs to be done. So
and the point I've got here before we go to our world famous first caller in a second, BSINGHD, Basing HD or something, did a super chat, unfortunately in the last stream, which we couldn't get around to doing. But he said, we replaced quality players from our top 4 finishing teams with average mediocre players. It was called out in 2017 by the famous MP, but nothing happened. I think that's still a very evident comment and very valid, right?
How many times do you want to repeat that? As in, not you, but as a fan base, we keep going back to that same quote, the house and the furniture. The rebuild never did begin. We tried to patch it up with bit part signings under a constrained transfer system, which never had a plan or an identity to it. And each different manager wanted a different system, a different set of players, and we need to rebuild.
Yeah.
We've needed a rebuild since Poch was fired. We need to start the rebuild. We've got the right manager now to do it. Are we going to do... I think if we spend wisely and we buy the correct calibre of players, and Conte sees that the club is 100% behind him, he's going to stay here 4-5 years. Why would you leave if the club are going to give you what you want?
Yeah.
And you can build a Premier League winning team, a Champions League winning team, a Europa Cup, FA Cup winning team.
Yeah.
Why would you leave that? The reason he left the other clubs were because they stopped backing him.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it, Si?
Absolutely. To dare is to rebuild. That is my new motto.
To rebuild.
Can we please go to Sim? Is that possible, my dear friend Vinny?
Today is to rebuild. I love that, Si.
How you doing, buddy?
All good, bro. All good. Not after that game, though. Absolutely terrible, terrible performance. I had people ask me before the game how I'm feeling, because I'm isolating everything. Oh, are you feeling? I was just in the lineup. I'm not feeling well at all. Yeah, Doherty at left wing back. That was absolutely horrendous. That was terrible. But look, I think at the end of the day, we were beat by the better team. That's the truth. Chelsea were better than us. We couldn't play through their press. When they sat back, we had no answer to it. It was very easy for them to open them up. I think tactically as well, Tuchel had one over on Conte, switching formation as a surprise, going to a back four at the beginning, and then switching it back to a back five in the second half. Very clever from Tuchel, and I think Conte didn't have a response.
Sim, can I ask you a question? You say that we were beaten by the better team. But it was only just a week ago I watched Chelsea at Stamford Bridge play Brighton, and Brighton were the better team. Brighton absolutely took the game to Chelsea. I thought outplayed them. The football was of a very high standard. Why is it then that we can't do that? What's the difference between us and Brighton and Hove Albion?
I think Conte wants to play a different way to how Potter wants to play with Brighton, in terms of Brighton very well known for having a possession-based system, like to play it around. Even against the best teams, they can have lots of spells of possession, but a lot of the time, because of their lack of quality going forward, they don't end up the results. But like quality-wise, I'm a big fan of Potter, and I think he would do a good job at Spurs. But Conte plays a different way. He's not always about keeping possession and dominating, and he's about exploiting the chances when you get forward and on the transitions and in the wings. It's a big part of how Conte likes to play, and especially against a better side, he knows you're going to have to be a bit pragmatic. So that's not used. I don't know. That's just not how he. I think they're just coaching methods, I would say, in terms of why it's possible. But did Brighton have more of the game than Spurs did? For sure. But I just think it's the way they're playing. They're coached.
Do you think we were set up in the right way? Could Conte have not have played a different way from the off in this game? Or, are we not to criticise Conte tonight?
Of course you can criticise him, because we weren't able to create much, really. I think I feel bad for him because, Tanganga giving the ball away in the first 5 minutes, and then the second goal as well, Tanganga screws it up. I'm not blaming all on Tanganga, I'm just saying I feel bad for Conte a bit from a goals point of view. But we were ripped apart, for most of the game. I think he probably could have changed formation a bit earlier, potentially. But playing Doherty at left wing back, we tried that. It didn't work before. I don't know why he tried it again. Maybe he was forced into it. But I think in this kind of situation, I know as much as Davis has been playing well left centre back, just put him in left wing back and put Rodon in. I don't get why he'll be more comfortable there than Doherty on the left. So I think there's a few things he got wrong. Even giving Hill a run out, because he came on the left-hand side late on, and he did a good job. So maybe having him earlier on, even from a left wing-back position, could have given that a go. So I was disappointed a bit with Conte, but at the end of the day, I think Chelsea just have the better team, better players at the moment. Even with their weakened team, Tuchel's got them playing very well, so it's always going to be tough to play against them.
See, I personally felt when I saw the starting lineup and I saw that we're going to play three up across the top, I thought we'd be very attacking and we'd go at Chelsea because Azpilicueta, the wing back, he's slow. Sarr hardly plays for Chelsea. Yeah, he's tall and powerful, but he's not, in my opinion, a good player. They had no N'Golo Kante, no Kovacic. Saul that started as a weak link. I thought the middle and to the left side, they were weak and we should have exposed it. So when we kind of sat back a bit, I just feared it because for me, this was a game we should have taken to Chelsea. And I'm not saying we would have won, Sim, but I think we would have found a lot more joy and we would have caused them problems. Because when we did look a bit more on the front foot in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and when Brian Hill, a winger that did take on a player, Chelsea looked nervous. They looked like there was a potential error in them. And I just felt that we never, ever, ever in that first half and most of the second half show enough courage.
I completely agree. And I think it took us, I think the whole point of having Højbjerg and Skip is to have them off the ball, working really hard for the team and winning the ball in the middle of the park and then getting the ball very quickly to the front three and having them kind of do the damage on the transition. the problem with Højbjerg and Skip tonight is not off the ball, is on the ball. They were just anonymous. I didn't see them once, get on the ball and trying to dictate play and get forward. We needed some more forward-thinking players because for sure with Subtle in the centre midfield and Sarr at centre-back, they had some weaknesses we had to exploit, and we should have had some more forward-thinking players, even have maybe a third midfielder in there, because on the ball, they weren't showing for it. Every time they did get it, they were getting caught. I've never seen Skip get caught as many times in a game as he did tonight. He's usually very good at not getting caught on the ball. On the ball, I thought they struggled. And I think we could have done with some more quality. And as soon as Ndombele came on, there was a bit more control because it made them rethink a bit.
Sim, Si made a comment during the match where he said that he felt that Skip was having to do the job of 3 or 4 players. Do you think that was true? And maybe was that the reason that you saw Skip being dispossessed of the ball because he was just having to do the work of too many other players? Do you think there's any truth in that?
I think maybe he got pulled apart quite a bit because, he's in a double pivot with Højbjerg. And when there's just 2 of them, and I think Chelsea moving to a 4-2-2-2, made that there was actually 4 players in the central areas, and the wide defenders, Doherty and who's the other one, Emerson, they were kind of out of the game, and it was kind of just like 4 up against our 5, I think, our 3 centre-backs and our 2 midfielders, and all of a sudden they were getting pulled apart. Ziyech was picking up all sort of positions, which were, Skip was forced to go over, and same with our other attacking midfielders, and I think Tuchel did very well there. I think he posed us asking us questions which we didn't know the answer to in that first half. So I think, he probably was asked to do quite a lot, but that's more tactical rather than anything work rate rise.
What do you think about, obviously it's basically half-time, Sim. What do you think, obviously apart from scoring goals, what do you think we need to bring to the table in this second game at home? And do you think we can still do it? Do you think we'll have a completely maybe different game plan and completely different players maybe in that second game as well? Because I think Conte's probably learned even more today than he already had done previously about some of these players that he already probably thought were on the verge of being in his plans or not.
Yeah. Look, it is only half time. Back at the Lane, it's a completely different game. We know we're a different team at home than we are away from home. A few other things. We massively tonight lacked a leader in the back line, and as much as people have piled on Eric Dyer in the past, he's going to be back, and I think he's the leader that is needed in that back line. Otherwise, it goes to shit properly. We've seen Eric Dyer has been great since Conte's come in, and no one's more vocal than him. I was worried, actually. The most thing I was worried about wasn't necessarily who the personnel tonight in the back line. It was Sanchez being the leader, because I don't think he can be a leader in that back line, and I think that was showing more tonight as well. It wasn't just the individual mistakes; it was just the whole formate. The organisation of the defence looked all over the place tonight. So we need Dyer back in there. He can help us. We need Reggie on the left, so we actually have a threat down the left-hand side rather than someone whenever he gets the ball, the move breaks down, or he's kind of back inside. So a threat on the other wing with Reggie when he's going to be back in the second leg. He's another one who would make a big difference. And I'm hoping, for me, what I want to change is just get a bit more quality, whether it be a Winks or an Ndombele or Lo Celso, fit one of them in there for when we're on the ball and we can actually take the game to them a bit and make because Skip and Højbjerg, no, let's be honest, when they're on the ball, who's worried about them? Are any of their midfielders or defenders worried about Skip or Højbjerg having the ball, taking anyone on, doing anything? Like they're great together. They're good for what they're good at. But when you need a bit of quality and they have a weakness in centre mid, you need to exploit that. And I felt like maybe we'll see what team Chelsea play next week. But if they're going to play a similar team tonight, we need a bit more quality.
Sim, you talk about Skip and Højbjerg quite a fair bit, but would you say Son, Kane, or Mora did anything particularly great tonight?
No, they didn't. But I felt like we had so little of the ball. We had sorry, just
cough it out, Sim.
Cough it out. There we go. Sorry. What I was going to say was we had so little of the ball in the first half for long passages of the ball. We had 20% possession, long passages of the play. They couldn't get on the ball whatsoever. Skip and Højbjerg. And that is a big reason why we weren't able to build up play whatsoever. The centre-backs, every time they played it into the midfielders, they were losing it. They were being pressed. Every time they played it long, Son, Kane and Lucas found it really hard to make the ball stick. So I think Skip and Højbjerg need to show a bit more personality. They need to get on the ball a bit more, get on the half turn. Sorry. I am fine. Don't worry.
Look what the result's done to you.
I know, it's unbelievable. Honestly, I'm lost. But yeah, I think they need to show a bit more personality on the ball if they're going to be top midfielders. Otherwise, they're just going to be good. They're only going to be good if they're next to someone who's more forward thinking. Because at the moment, both of them together, they're not showing enough on the balls to allow us to build up play and dictate the play a bit at all, or keep possession. We're so loose with the ball; it's so easy to win the ball off us. We don't keep it at all. We don't sustain any pressure on the opposition. And I think I'm not blaming it all on them. I'm just saying I don't like. As soon as we got Ndombele on, like I know he didn't have the best cameo, but at least we were starting to get into different kind of positions, and we were keeping the ball a lot more and putting some play together.
Sim, one of my final questions from my side. January, as I mentioned earlier, Conte saying the comments that he did about being patient and everything. Do you think something can be done in January significant enough to change things in a more positive aspect this season? I mean, to be fair, I mean, we have been winning our games, albeit some of them haven't been convincing, but it's clear as day to day that looking at the bench and looking at the players that started, they're just not up to the level that we require. Do you think that we can bring people in? And what's the maybe one or two key positions that you really think that we need to nail down as soon as possible and get fixed?
Well, there's a few things. I would say, the difference between, like, say, under Nuno and now is, even though things aren't perfect now, under Nuno, you got the feeling you could put any player in any position or buy any player, and then none of it would have worked, and there was no plan or anything. Now under Conte, you can very clearly see the structure and how he wants to play and what he relies on, and you can very clearly see what's kind of letting us down in a lot of games. And I think that's a bit of a difference now to how we're seeing things from before, and why we should be more convinced to back Conte. I'm just going to read a quote from Conte, apparently in his press conference today, talking about January. He says, "I need to be very clear that if we think the January transfer window can solve the situation, I would be telling you a lie. First of all, it's a very difficult window in January, and it only depends if the right players are out there." So look, he's kind of, I feel like the words coming out of Tottenham recently is kind of warming us up for like a.
He sounds like Daniel Levy made that statement.
I don't think we're going to have some crazy window. I do think we can get some business done. I can't see any more than, I think, 3 players max, probably 2, I would say. But I don't think it's going to be mind-blowing business. It's going to be players probably that I don't think it's going to be a Vlahovic or anything. I don't think it'll be a Vlahovic or anything like that. It'll be players like, I don't know, it's hard to say, but nothing, who hopefully improve us, but it won't be players who are going to put big headlines, I don't think.
Do you know what slightly worries me about that quote, Tim?
Sorry?
What slightly worries me about that quote you read out was that sounds exactly like the kind of thing Poch said, Mourinho said. It's that I've got to be careful what I say. Let me make sure I say enough to keep the fans on board, but toe the corporate line of Daniel Levy. I don't believe Antonio Conte means that.
It's conditioning.
Yeah,
it's public conditioning.
He knows this team needs major surgery and a lot of very, very high level investment in the right areas. I don't quite buy that quote from Conte, if I'm going to be honest with you.
He also goes on to say, we are a long way from Chelsea. There is no quick fix. I repeat, we need so much time. Believe me, we need so much time.
So why has he signed a 2-year contract? Why has he signed a 2-year contract?
So because he believes he's going to get the time, I'm guessing. I hope he gets the time that he's saying he needs. That's a bit worrying, though.
On the one hand, he signed a 2-year contract. On the other hand, we need lots and lots of time. Be patient. That doesn't correlate.
Only we could do this. Only we could do this.
This is a Spurs manoeuvre, yeah.
I was really happy until Conte said all that after the press conference, because like Stella said, it was an exact imitation. It sounded like a PR nonsense. Like it didn't feel like that was Conte saying it. Do you know what I mean? Like there wasn't the usual Italian passion that he had. It was more like, Antonio, about the transfer situation that we said that you're probably going to have.
It's a reality check of what he's really inherited. I mean, he's had the honeymoon period. I think is over. Okay, this is the real Tottenham now. This is the business end Are you going to get to a final? Are you going to get top 4? This is serious now. Sim, one question, because I do believe that 2 or 3 top signings can get us top 4. Just like when Man United bought Cavani and Bruno Fernandes, completely turned their season around. Do you think 2 or 3 really, really heavyweight signings can get us top 4?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's enough quality already in the squad that if you add in the right positions, in the fullbacks, we definitely need. I think a centre back we definitely need, and a forward, probably on competing with Lucas if Bergwijn's going to stay, then or Kane or a striker competing with Kane, one of the two. I think for sure we can compete for top 4, but I feel like at the moment we've just got a few players who we heavily rely on, and when they're injured, especially against the top teams, it really is costly for us. That's the difference, and I think if we literally face any top team with any sort of injuries, we need to be with our best 11, like our best team, best. Otherwise, things fall apart. We see that. So if we've got a few more quality additions added to the depth of the team, I think we can. Because at the moment it's very even between us, United, and Arsenal. I think Arsenal looking like the team at the moment, the most consistent. You never know United if they're going to turn it on or not. They have the best squad, but we have the best manager, and we have our squad. If it's not as good as Arsenal's United, it's not that far off that 1 or 2 signings can't close the gap. So I think for sure a few 2 or 3, and we could be in business for top 4.
Well, we've got a big test. Well, not on Sunday, but certainly
You never know. Morecambe away.
You never know. But the 16th of January, you obviously just mentioned them, Sim. So Spurs and Arsenal coming up very soon. That is going to be an ultimate test, in my opinion, from my perspective of dedication and passion and desire. But more importantly, are the players going to show up unlike they did today? So,
look, that North London derby goes ahead after the second leg. So it would be interesting to see what way we take it. If we go through, imagine the momentum and the atmosphere. If we just got through against Chelsea. In the going into that North London derby. On the flip side, if we lose, either we could look for a reaction in that North London derby, or we could be feeling sorry for ourselves. So we'll make sure we get that victory, and that momentum will take us into the North London derby like they have never seen.
Well, Sim, the irony of kicking you off your own channel. But thanks very much.
It's probably a good thing. I need a few more coughs. So
I'll help. Bless you, man. Hope you feel better soon, as always.
Cheers,
I'll be seeing you soon.
Nice one.
Get well soon, because I'm waiting for you to come back so we can do our next tactics show. So,
yeah, man, I can't wait, man. It won't be long.
I need my wingman, my tactics wingman.
I know, I'm missing you too, Stel.
Oh, love.
Bless you, brother. Take care,
cheers,
mate.
Guys. Great job on the watch along.
Yeah, good. Paycheck in the post. Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, Sim's pretty much saying what we were saying, that we need players, we need investment.
Since 2017,
yeah.
The history books, for the next 3 and 4 years will be literally this topic. It's not going to go away.
No.
I don't want to see mediocre players come in like we've seen over. I mean, I saw the list of players that have come in January over the last few years, and maybe bar Lucas Moura, the rest of them were utter nonsense. I mean, it was like Jed Fernandez and all Jedson, sorry.
Jedson, yeah.
As the reel of players was just absolutely appalling from the stature that we are supposed to be aiming for.
He came for 6 months.
It's absolutely obscene. So the simplicity of it is, I agree it can't be done overnight, because the whole team needs an overhaul. It has been for the last 3-4 years. You can't just switch the tap of money on. To do that, you probably need to sell the likes of Son or Kane to do it, which the argument goes back to whether we should have done that in the summer to completely fund 4 or 5 players.
You say we can't switch the tap of money on, but what's the point of this stadium then?
Well, that takes time. I mean, from a business perspective, you've got to understand all the loans that were put in and the cost fabrications and stuff. I get that. I mean, look at
another 10 years.
It could be, mate. It could be 5-10 years.
Conte's only here for 2.
I know, and well, yeah, he seems to think he's going to be sticking around for a bit longer to figure that out. But we're going to go to Phil now, I think, and find out what he thinks about maybe Conte's comments and just general feelings of this horrendous game that we've just watched.
Phil in the house. How you doing, Phil?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah,
silly question, really, isn't it? After that debacle, but
yeah, look, Tottenham's never going to completely put us into complete miserable state. Obviously, we wanted to win. Every Spurs fan did. But what was obviously your take was that the game wasn't good. But what did you think was the biggest issue tonight with what you saw?
I'd probably say throughout that first half, they obviously went for a little bit of containment, or it felt that's how they were starting. But
I agree.
They just felt second best to everything. Chelsea were quicker to the ball. At one point when we were talking on our stream, it was like Chelsea looked like they have 14 players to our 11 because their desire. It was like they were doing a London derby and we were doing a pre-season. Don't want to get injured before a cup final at the weekend. Exactly what I said. And obviously it is unfortunate. I mean, Tanganga's, I think he's had a shocker tonight. But I don't know. It's whether his positional awareness was right, whether he's a centre-back who can play in a pair rather than one that can play in a three. Because I saw him a couple of times almost try and go and get really stuck in and just got easily turned
Phil,
and then was just out of position.
Let me ask you a quick question about Tanganga. Do you think that some fans are being harsh on him? And I'll tell you why I asked this question. He hardly plays for us. He's always on the bench. Sometimes he's not on the bench. He never really gets a start for us. And all of a sudden, can you please go start in a back three against the hardest team in the country that we always have a bad record against away? Just go and do a job against Chelsea, please. Don't you think it was... there's no momentum, there's no development, there's no progression for him to be ready for a game like this. Do you think we're being a bit harsh on him?
Do you know what? Yeah. But bottom line is yes, because none of us are sat there thinking, if we could have, even with the 6 central defenders, he's not making anyone's top 3. So he's always coming in. And I could almost add it to Son. For me, I thought Moura was better than Son tonight, but you don't consider taking him off because he just has to play through his leaner spell. But Tanganga hasn't got that option, has he? He's like you said, it's kind of all or nothing. And if we're playing Norwich today, it's not so difficult. But you're playing an above average Chelsea side who just made him look poor.
I think if Romero was around, it'd be a slightly easier situation because I generally believe personally that Tanganga should be out on loan. He should be out on loan, learning the trade, playing week in, week out, not in and out when the manager feels it's necessary to do so. The problem we got right now is Romero's still recovering. If we put Tanganga out on loan, we haven't really got anyone to come in. We want to see Rodon play more and more. But it's just back to that conversation of the depth isn't quite there. The quality is not there for us. This is Tottenham right now. This is all we've got to adhere to. And it's a really sticky situation. And when you want a game like Tottenham and Chelsea to go your way, or at least show some fight, and it doesn't, it just makes it like 10 times worse. Do you know what I mean? It's just difficult.
When Conte was asked about Rodon a little while ago, he said he's one who plays in the middle of the back 3. So tonight you're like, right, Dyer's not there. This has got to be your chance. And he moves Sanchez across. And I think I agree with Sim. Sanchez, I thought he did okay tonight, but he's not a leader, whereas Dyer is the leader. And it just felt, for me, that kind of signals that is absolutely the end of Rodon. He's done at Tottenham.
Yeah. And also Tanganga will be looking for some kind of leadership at the back. And if Sanchez hasn't got the confidence to do it, where on earth is Tanganga going to get his from? Yeah. So it was a bit of a mess from the start, I think. But it is what it is. Dyer wasn't available for whatever reason. As we know, Romero's recovering. It's just... What's a bit frustrating from my side, Phil, is that irrespective of how new or old Tanganga is or whatever... there does come a point where you need to step up. You need to account. The top players, top young players, We look at, like, I know they're completely different class right now, but like the Liverpool defenders that came in from the youth team, and Chelsea as well, Reece James and all that, they were chucked into big games and they just went on.
Yeah, but we could say that, just to play not to play devil's advocate, just as a counter argument, Tanganga was thrown into the deep end against Liverpool in his debut and he was outstanding.
He was.
What's happened is there's been no progression in his team selection. Players like Reece James, Mason Mount, they start every week. They've had a chance to really develop into the squad. Whereas Tanganga, he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. That's not how you develop a player. So if you're inconsistent in your team selection, you're going to be inconsistent in your performances. And for me, that's what happened tonight. So many... Phil, for me, I find fans are lazy. And what I mean by that is, what's the easiest thing to do? Target a player... He's shit. He was bad. He was brilliant. He scored the goals. How's about we just take a step back and probably look at it? Tanganga never gets a start, and suddenly go and play away at Stamford Bridge, and we're expecting him to be the replacement for Toby Alderweireld. He's going to have a bad performance like that. I just feel that as a whole, there's no cohesive squad that you can say, right, they're your best 11. They'll start every week, and you know they'll always do a job. We've always got a weakness, and we're always having to try and figure a solution to the weakness. But the solution is another weakness, and it's like we need that rebuild. I just feel we need that rebuild, and I totally agree with Si. If Tanganga isn't going to start on a regular basis or get a lot more game time, send him out on loan like we did with Skip, like we did with Harry Kane. And if he gets game time week in, week out at a championship club, he'll come back a top player. Like this, he's going to end up just kind of fizzling away like a Carter's Vickers, like many other players have at the club.
And that's the worst. The worst thing is, obviously, if he doesn't get his game time and he comes in for games like this, it's surely going to affect his confidence. And we don't need anything at the club. It didn't feel a great morale at the club, and it's
especially
like
if he goes on Twitter tonight.
but it's true, isn't it? I mean, it's like I just once we got into the second half, he obviously changed it around a little bit, and I was a bit nervous with that because I think Sanchez in a 2 at the back isn't so strong, but we seem to just come out on the front foot. Like we suddenly realised at half time it was a cup game, it's a semi-final. Yeah, and we knew to do something. And the second half performance was better, but I still felt they didn't feel that 100% passion for going to win a London derby.
Do you think at 2-0 down, the mentality in the team, not Conte but the players on the pitch, was we're not going to turn this around? Do you feel that there's not enough belief in this squad that they can come back from a 2-0 deficit against Chelsea away?
Yeah, honestly, I think so. I mean, my small concern tonight is over the last few weeks, when you've seen Conte on the side, he's arms everywhere and he's proper into it. And tonight, he just looked a little bit subdued. And that's a bit of a concern for me. I mean, I saw the Sky Sports report before, and it basically went something like they were doing the transfer roundup, and they were like, Conte's finished his assessment of the squad and passed it on to the board that will be reviewed by the hierarchy at the club. And you're like, that's just telling us everything. It's like, it just, and maybe part of his comments, which you sort of said earlier about how I think we are deluded as Spurs fans. This rebuild is way bigger than we give it credit for.
And I think the rebuild's not even as close as we think it ever will be.
No.
So it's pretty depressing, really. Doherty picked today. What do you think about that? What? Okay, right. So
great decision, wasn't it, Phil?
The only thing I can, before I ask you, Phil, but like the only thing I can think of is like obviously regular fitness, whatever. I really don't know. When you're playing Chelsea, I expect your best players to be playing. It's absolutely ridiculous. No excuse whatsoever. If you're injured, then don't be on the bench. I don't know why I wasn't picked. Whatever the reason is, Doherty's gone in there, right? In my opinion, we could have played Rodon and put Davies there, whatever, anything but Doherty on the pitch, right? Because I don't like him at right back. I certainly don't like him at left back. And today, again, appalling. What's your thoughts about why or what even is Doherty? What's going on?
He's one of the biggest mistakes of the recent tenure, and the quicker he leaves the club, the better. I mean, the only thing I would say, you kind of feel for him. If you're a right wing back, you can't play left wing back because he did it against Watford, Southampton. Every time he got the ball, he went down the line and he cut back in. And most of the time then it went from all the way over to the other side. But the guy's not the quality of a top Premier side. So we've already said he's up for sale now. I cannot believe anyone of Arsenal, Man City, Man U are even considering it. You know, he's going to be lucky to get back to a Wolves. It's just it's a huge mistake, and why Ben Davies didn't start out there.
I've heard Scunthorpe are interested.
Well, and fair shout to Scunthorpe.
We might have to pay them.
Yeah. I was going to say, as part of that Traore deal, I think it was 20 million for Traore. If we include Doherty, it was 25 million, wasn't it?
Phil, we had a bad night tonight, okay? And it wasn't a great performance. And there are some questions about the tactics, the substitutions, and in general, we're downbeat. But having said that, can we turn it around at the in the second leg? Because although it is a bit doom and gloom, we're not out of the tie. If we get an early goal, 2-1, anything is possible. Even if we take it to penalties and win it on that. I mean, I do recall we knocked them out last year on penalties. It was a late equaliser that got us there. But can we turn it around, or are Chelsea just going to come to White Hart Lane and just get the job done?
How I felt during the game was this is over and done with. We haven't got a cat in hell's chance. But the more you think about it, you know, you hope they're going to have a week off pretty much, because you would hope it's a second string against Morecambe, and then, you know, this is the best opportunity they have for a trophy this season, and it's all about that winning mentality. So you're right, if they can get out there, get an early goal, who knows? Who knows? Obviously, Dyer will be back, you would presume, wouldn't you, for next week?
Yeah. So, we have Morecambe on Sunday. Quick thoughts on that one, Phil?
Again, what we should be able to do is play your second string with a few of the younger players, maybe some first teamers sort of on the bench just in case. But I just think.
Can we play the second string, Phil? We did that in the European Conference Cup, and we found ourselves in quite a bit of trouble.
Well, that's the concern. Although, I mean, but that's.
Are Morecambe better than Mora? Do we know if Mora are better than Morecambe?
Because we lost to Mora something like the 300th worst team in Europe. So whether or not Morecambe are there, again, you just, I genuinely don't know. I would like to think that you wouldn't need to play as many. There are a few in there that probably need a rest, but maybe your likes of Winks comes in, and I don't know,
Rodon,
Tanganga,
Brian Hill,
Bombele. Yeah. There should still be enough. It's a home FA Cup fixture. They've just got to dust themselves off. It's a poor result tonight, but you got to go and do the business then, because they've got to get that momentum going, ready for not only next Wednesday but also the following Sunday. Because at the moment, I've big concerns at playing Arsenal.
Well, I'll tell you what, White Hart Lane will be a full capacity for the second leg. We're going to be in good voice, and if we do pull it out of the bag, it's going to be absolute top draw at the Lane. So you never know. We are still in the tie. Yeah.
I mean, there was a point halfway through the first half we all sort of were discussing it. We were like, would you take 2-0 now? And we were
so we were saying,
yeah, we would. We would absolutely do it. And it's funny, I'm going to have a little plug here, but we on our Tottenham Tantrum Gold, we've got.
Sorry, what channel did you say?
Tottenham Tantrum Gold.
If you could say that one more time.
Tottenham Tantrum Gold. Thank you,
Okay.
guys. But on Friday evening, we have Mr. Steve Perryman is coming on to basically do a little watch along from one of his classic games. It's the 72 Europa League semi-final. But I had a bit of a chat with him today, and he the guy's such a sensible guy, but he was talking all sorts about, the mentality, and he talked a little bit about Tottenham. But one of the things he said is Bill Nicholson had 5 areas that he used to mark players on, and each one was out of 2. And he only went through the 2, but one was, are you fit enough in your position? And he's like, clearly your right wing back needs to be fitter than your centre back, etc. He said, and then the fifth one, which was the least important, was, can you do something special? Can you pull something out of a hat? And what he said is, all your flair players, used to basically start at the top and go, well, I can do an overhead kick, I can do this. He said, but there was so much you needed for that passion, commitment, and doing the basics. And he always talked about doing it from the top down rather than the bottom up, because the flair, all that sort of stuff, you don't get many of those chances in football. And it was just such an impressive way of looking at it. But that's the way Bill Nick said he basically ruled the dressing room, what he did with them.
And when I use the word quality, and I deliberately use the word quality, that's what I'm talking about. Have you got a wow factor in you? And it's funnily enough, because in the Spurs Academy, they want players that have got a wow moment in them.
Like Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spot on. Listen.
He's available.
We're
Daniel.
Daniel Levy. Bring him back.
So would you take him back at the moment, Bale?
Always. I would always take Gareth, because he is he's exactly what you just said. He makes things happen out of nothing. He might not have the pace like he did anymore. Look at last season. Look at what he did last season. I'd say he's probably one of our best. Well, obviously Kane and Son were phenomenal with their assists and goals.
Yeah.
But Bale was rolling back the years, and I think, honestly, I honestly think Bale is better than majority of our players in that team right now. How would you not want one of the best players in the world in your team? And maybe there's a loan deal to be had, I don't know. But I would take him in a heartbeat, because I know what he's capable of. You can trust him. Yeah, he loves his golf. That's fine. Do what you want on the outside. But he doesn't have the pace. But I think he's a darn sight better. He'll get crosses in for a start, and he'll certainly bang them in as well. Because at the moment, where have our goals come from? Really?
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny you say that, because when this question came up a couple of months ago, I was dead against it. Don't bring him back. Hell no, I don't want him at the club. But the more and more I look at us, the most important player I think Spurs need to sign, because a lot of our fans talk about, we need a box-to-box player, we need a defensive mid, we need someone creative, we need someone to replace the wide players. I think the most important player Spurs need right now is a goal-scoring midfielder, someone that can contribute to the goals when Son and Kane aren't scoring. Yes, Moura can do it, but he's not as consistent as them. If we can find someone to replace the goals that Bale scored, guess what?
Exactly.
Bale, then that's the play we need. So if we're not going to bring in a talent that scores goals from midfield, then Gareth Bale, now I've completely 360 on my opinion, 180 even. I've changed it completely.
You.
He scores goals, and we need that. So if we're not going to go and buy that quality player, then I am for Bale now, because I think that's the biggest. Even tonight, 2-0 down, we're not playing well, we're against it. Can someone just get their foot on the end of a ball and just whip it top bins? Bale can do it. He's got it in him. He's got the wow factor. But
exactly.
Are we going to bring him back? Probably not.
Well, I hope so. Phil, last comment. Can we do it against Chelsea at home? Yes or no?
I'm a Spurs fan. Of course we could do it.
Yeah, good.
But it's going to be
good answer.
It's going to be tough. I think it's more about the attitude than the playing. I think if they go in with the right belief, there's no reason why they can't turn it around.
Legend Phil, top man. Thank you for calling in, and hopefully we'll see you soon, mate.
All right, great show, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Take care, Phil.
So, Stelios, before we go to the next call, I know we've got a few to get through. One of the comments that came through from Conte, in the last years, the level of Tottenham has dropped, and has dropped a lot.
Conte said that?
Yes.
So that means he's been looking at us, or he's gone back and looked?
Yeah.
Well,
I think anyone realises the depressing, downfall that we've had over the years.
Well, think about it. From Champions League final, we went on a really bad run. Poch got sacked, Jose came in, got us to a Carabao Cup final, out of the top four. So now Champions League is gone.
The final.
Got sacked before the final, lost the final. First time that we haven't even got Europa Cup or Champions League in a lot since Martin Jol days. We've dropped into the Europa Conference Cup. We finished 7th. And now we're dumped out of the Europa Conference Cup. And fans and this is why I said to fans, you're all celebrating it. Oh, I'd much rather smash Chelsea and smash Arsenal in the final. Oh, really? How's that working out for us now? But again, this is where I say fans just need to humble themselves a little bit and just look at it from reality, not the euphoria and the excitement of what might be.
Be calm.
Yeah, we can't because we're fans. But now, where are we? You know, where are we now?
Where are we? Who are we? Who am I?
We're in
Tottenham.
We're in that limbo now.
Yeah.
Back the manager, and we can progress.
Exactly.
Don't back him, and I'm telling you now, I predict it. If you don't back Conte, we're going to finish 8th or 9th this season, and we're going to have massive problems in the summer holding on to our current quality players. We just need to bring in
the
two or three. I keep
left.
saying it. We've got to get 2 or 3 really, really good players this January.
Yeah.
It can change everything for us.
Thank you, Stelios. One
You're
of my
welcome,
favourite
Simon.
people of all time, Joseph, is here on the calls. Big up, Joseph. How are you doing, my friend?
How you doing, man? I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, all right, mate. I haven't seen you for maybe a year and a half now. I usually see Joseph standing in the stairways in Tottenham with a nice beer in his hand. I miss those days, my friend. Hopefully I'll see you soon. He's still got one, though.
Joseph, I've never met you, but hello,
brilliant.
it's a pleasure to have you on the show tonight.
Oh, hello, Stelios. How you doing, man? You're right. I never met you before, but I've already seen your opinions, and you know what? Yeah, fair enough.
Friends.
Yeah.
So, guys, Joseph, what's going on? What do you think of today's performance then?
Oh, I mean, it was a horror show, wasn't it? Literally from minute 1, really.
I think the first minute was okay, actually. Maybe it was from minute 2, actually. Yeah.
Maybe. But I mean, no, it's 5th minute. You know, just first 5 minutes of the semi-final, and then defensive mistake, give a goal away. You know, just and then I mean, I'm not saying it's all Tanganga tonight. You know, I'm not going to say it's all him because you know it's just that's very harsh. I mean, we lacked a leader in the back 3. And then obviously Dyer is actually, believe it or not, that leader, which, you know, I don't really believe necessarily. But I mean, to be fair to him, since Conte's come in, I mean, you know, he has been brilliant. And we clearly did miss him tonight because when he wasn't there, Sanchez can't really lead the line. And just I mean, you know, and I mean, the defense didn't seem comfortable around him. So, you know what I mean? Those 3 lads, him leading the line tonight. And, you know, Tanganga was... he looked very nervous, semi-final, I guess. You come in, you don't really play much, come into a game like this, and then it just will suddenly 2-0 down. I mean, that was unfortunate, I'll be honest with you. But, you know, obviously some people argue you should just head it behind for a corner, which I do understand. It's in making, fair enough, you know. But, yeah, it's just unfortunate David said to head it, you know, into net. But, yeah, I mean, you know, the worst thing was the more I looked onto that game, the more the game went on, the more I'd say, at first I was saying I'll take a draw tonight. Then I'm saying I'll take 2-1 tonight. Then I was saying, what I'm saying then after that, it's like 2-0 tonight, and then it's what it is. You know, then I'd say take 2-0 tonight. The more the game went on, you know, it could have been 3 or 4. But I'll say second half, we did actually, obviously, you know, we looked a bit better second half, but I do wonder how much, whether it was to do with us or whether it was to do with Chelsea just sort of managing the game and trying to look maybe for a 3rd or 4th in there sort of thing. I don't know. Do you mean?
Well, I think Chelsea missed a couple of big chances, Joseph. There was the Lukaku chance where he's kicked it straight at Lloris. There was the Hakim Ziyech shot where he smashed it over the bar from 6 yards. And then that Timo Werner, he was in acres of space behind the back line, and he's kind of tried to chip Lloris, and it didn't work. So I think Chelsea kept going. They just didn't finish their chances.
We were fortunate in some ways, you know.
Yeah, I think we were a bit fortunate, to be only 2 down at this stage. I mean, and then that is the one silver lining, isn't it, guys? Really, that we technically are still in a tie. You know what I mean? That is the one silver lining. Because, you know, I think if it had been 3 or 4, obviously, if it this way, if it had been 3 or 4, I'd be looking to sell my tickets straight away. You know what I mean? You know, I bought tickets for
empty second leg stadium.
But honestly, I'm still looking forward to next week. I mean, you know, I'm trying to look in a positive mindset. But yeah, tonight was just it just kind of showed me that it wasn't. We weren't. It wasn't really to beat tonight, was it? I mean, we just didn't look like we were ready from minute 1 tonight. But one thing I'll ask you guys though, one thing as well. So I'll ask you, is that do you not think this kind of result was kind of coming with the performances we were showing in recent weeks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Joseph, I don't know how much you've seen of the shows that I've done on We Are Tottenham TV or on my channel Tottenham Away, but I've been saying for a long time this squad isn't good enough for top 4. We've not played a team in the top 10 or, we've not beaten a team away from home. Mora, Everton, Southampton. Watford was the first one. We left it to the last second. I haven't been convinced by the performances to suggest that we're ready to go and beat a Chelsea. Exactly what you said. This performance has been coming. I totally agree with that. But again, it's a difficult thing to say because you might come across negative if you say it. You might come across as if like you're anti-Spurs. I'm not. I love Spurs. I'm on a Spurs show. I'm with Spurs fans, you and Si and obviously Sim that called up earlier and all the fans that called up tonight and everyone in the comments. Except for the Chelsea trolls that are trolling us. But sorry, Joseph, beg your pardon. I totally agree with you, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, to be fair, I did see your match reaction against Southampton. I think it was with Ben. Yeah, I saw that one, and I did agree with you. Then you were saying about how you don't think we're going to get top 4, and with the squad. So you know what? I want to remain positive and try, say maybe a couple of editions, or obviously, a couple of editions. I think we can get top 4, but I know what you mean though, because at the moment in its current state, I mean, you watch Arsenal the other day against Man City. That's how you see them playing so well. I mean, obviously, I know they didn't win the game. They obviously lost it, unfortunately. Luckily for us, but but I'm saying that, I mean, obviously they're playing us next, isn't it? So obviously in the league, so we'll find out more about that. But
do you know what concerns me?
Don't worry. Yeah, absolutely.
Joseph, what concerns me with Arsenal is they've got more firepower than us. And what I mean by that is Lacazette scores, Martinelli scores, Saka scores, Smith Rowe scores. They've got more players that consistently score goals for them. We don't have that, which is why when Si and Phil were talking about bringing Bale back, I'm on board with it now because we don't have that. That's why I've changed my tune on Bale, because we need someone either up front or probably in that midfield that's going to score goals. If we get that, I think you although the performances might not improve, I do believe the top 4 race will be seriously on for us. So, yeah, it's. I mean, North London Derby is going to be absolutely electric this year, isn't it?
It's massive, that game. But because you know what it is, it's psychologically as well, isn't it? It's like if we win that game, you go above them 1 point clear with 2 games in hand. Because we do have 2 games in hand as well, which obviously is the one thing we all feel confident Spurs fans often. But obviously, I know you've got that. The 2 games in hand. It goes apart. That's another thing. But what we'll say is, I know what you mean in terms of. I mean, it's a great. Yeah, we need a correct midfielder badly today. You could see that. I mean, and Ndombele came on. I don't know what you guys thought about his performance today, but I think to be fair to him, one thing you got to lay off him a little bit anyway, because he hasn't really even been given the chance. He's only played 50 minutes against Tottenham. That's it. That's what he's played in the last sort of 3 or 4 games. Since Liverpool, where he played a great, 60 minutes when he played.
Yeah, again with Ndombele, he doesn't get a run of games. He doesn't get to play week in, week out. And we're just saying, right, come on, there's 30 minutes to go, do something. No matter what talent you've got, as a player, you need some momentum in order to progress. Progression comes from momentum, and momentum is minutes consistently playing. We've got too many players at this club that don't have that. A bit like why I was defending Tanganga today. Yeah, he was bad for the first 30 minutes, giving away silly passes, a poor clearance and costing us goals. But players need momentum. We look at Saka and Smith Rowe, young players at Arsenal. They play every week. Of course they're good. Our young players are good. Don't doubt that. But they need time. And even experienced players, they need that momentum. Yeah. So it's a balancing act. And I think at the moment
if you have a bad game,
we're out of balance.
If you have a bad game, you have to play the next one, and probably the next one after that.
Your confidence,
yeah,
I agree.
But you're in such a difficult position in the Premier League these days, and the pressure and the positions, the money. Maybe some clubs don't have the opportunity or the time to do that. It's a difficult one. It is a really difficult one.
Look, if you compare us to the scumbags down the road, the Woolwich Wanderers, they've had 3 years with Arteta. They've had a lot of money, and they spent more money this summer than any other club. Conte, as a manager, is nowhere near that. Yeah. He hasn't had 3 years. He hasn't had that investment. Arsenal should be ahead of us. Yeah. Arsenal should be a better team. Yeah. It's not a fluke. It's patience, like you keep saying, patience, time, investment. we're right at the beginning with Conte. I think what it is maybe with a lot of our Spurs fans, Joseph, tell me what you think. I think a lot of Spurs fans thought, oh, just by getting Conte, 1 or 2 transfer windows, job done. Whereas the reality is, it's not. I mean, where do you see kind of what really needs to happen at Tottenham?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that because, you know, like, we definitely need to give them more than 1 or 2 transfer windows, really. Because at the end of the day, look, if we have Mourinho for the same thing, and Mourinho goes and gets sacked the way he did, then I mean, I know that technically he was on the decline compared to what Conte isn't on the decline at the moment for Spurs. But I mean, still, you know, like you got to give managers time because you got to remember even Pochettino when he first came in. You know what I mean? You know, we gave him 2 transfer windows in the first season, finished 5th. You know. Next season we finished obviously over touchdowns with Leicester, and obviously all right, the rest is history. We did do a lot better with him later on, and you know, but you need to give him time. You can't just give Conte 1 or 2 windows and say that's it, because it's about changing a whole style of playing as well, isn't it? Really, as well, you know how Conte wants to play compared to everyone else his managers in the past wants to play as well. And then I remember you guys saying, and I do agree with this. You were saying about you wanted the rebuild since Poch, you know, and I agree with that. You know, we needed the rebuild for about 3 years, you know, and we haven't had it. So it's a lot to fix. And then I think tonight, unfortunately, is a reality check to all Spurs fans, including myself, obviously. Unfortunately, we do realise, I mean, we knew before today, but especially now, there's a lot of investment needed because you look at the defence today, you know, like the 3 at the back today didn't feel comfortable with any of them. And Sanchez, I mean, because even Sanchez, I mean, I'm actually, you know, I actually quite like Sanchez. I mean, I've tried to back him since he's come in, tried to back him as much as I can. I quite like him. But then the thing is that, like you said, he's not a leader. So, you know, therefore, we're missing today. But then there's levels to go above that, isn't there? There's levels above there's levels above Sanchez. There's levels above both of them. And Romero supposedly is that level, and I think that he will be when he comes back from injury. But we need someone else. And then we need more players, like even a wing back, you know, we need, for a start, we need a wing back who can play actually a left-footed wing back that can actually play properly, not defensively, for example, today. So, you know what I mean?
Son and Kane will be OAPs, and we'll have to replace them as well.
It's true. It's true.
Because I couldn't believe it. I think Son's older than Kane. It's like 29 now.
Playing bingo at Tottenham Town Hall.
I mean, it's crazy, really, because we've had such a beautiful chance in these last few years to do something special, and it's slowly diminishing even more now because we've lost the likes of Jan, who was crying, if you remember that Norwich game, because he realised that was his last chance to try and win some silverware at Tottenham. And we hadn't had, obviously, Alderweireld gone, Dembele gone, Eriksen gone, the whole old draft of players. We've got these new ones that aren't quite up to scratch yet, and it's really sad to see that, because now Kane and Son are at the peak, arguably. Yep, Kane may have more years in there, but the rebuild is there. But I guess before we wrap up with you, Joseph, I've got 2 questions for you. One, are you going to be at the Spurs-Chelsea game? And if you are, obviously, great to have a drink with you once more, like old times. And 2, do you think we can turn this around and get through to the final of the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, so first question, yes, I will be there. I haven't sold a ticket because, you know, 2-0 down is not 3-0 down. So, therefore, I believe we're still in a tie, and therefore I'll keep my ticket. So I will be there. Cheering us on. So even so, I mean, I'm just joking, guys. Seriously, I'll still be there anyway. I mean, you know, I'll still be there cheering the team on, pay the money now, and cheering the team on is fun. So yeah. And then 2, can we turn it around? Yes, but in answer to the question, I think we actually can turn it around if we get an early goal. But my only worry is that I just hope that I'm wrong. But I think that Chelsea have a lot of experience in terms of holding on to aggregate leads like this. So I'm hoping I'm wrong, and hopefully, I know an early goal can do something. As a Spurs fan, I want to be optimistic. But so I'm going to say, my heart's going to say yes. Do you mean? You know, I want to say yes, and I want to go for it. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be like one of those we might have to win on penalties, like Stell said last year.
Yeah,
I think we can do that. I really think so.
Come on, Joseph, we can do it.
Joseph, absolute legend. Thank you so much for calling in, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so whereabouts you be sitting?
Sitting?
Yeah, whereabouts you sitting next
Oh,
week?
we're the Park Lane. Yeah.
I'll be in Daniel Levy's box, ready to chuck him out of the box with Brian Daigle.
But yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, I'll drop you a message before the game, mate. We'll definitely catch up.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah, and I'll be sitting South Stand. So,
Good man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joseph. As always.
Take care, man. See you
Take
later,
care,
yeah.
Joseph.
Nice to meet you, mate. Yeah, see you. Bye.
Bye. I actually want to announce the next person.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But very quickly, I can see on the screen. If Romero's fit, when I say fit, I mean maybe not 100%. Do you chuck him in to this Chelsea game that we're playing?
No. I think at Spurs there's times where we've brought players back too soon and end up picking another injury. Maybe a half a game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start him though. As much as we do need him, I wouldn't start him though.
That was that answered. You may introduce.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the United States of America. He's big, he's tall, he's got a beard. Will Stewart, THFC Rants. What do you think of the intro,
going
man?
on, folks? What's going on, folks? It was great. Great. Thank you very much.
I did, Will.
Appreciate it. I'd be doing a lot better if I didn't just spend 90 minutes watching that match. But
yeah, tell me about it.
No, look, I think that. I mean, does Dyer have COVID or something?
Yeah,
or
what
he
was
just getting
Dyer?
rest?
Where was Dyer today?
Dyer, I believe, yeah, he was isolating, wasn't he? He was one of the players that was isolating.
Okay, that makes sense then. So, I mean, if Dyer was available and he wasn't selected, I would say that this probably might have come down to choosing the wrong back line. But if Dyer was not able to be selected, then that soothes a little bit of my frustrations a little bit. Overall today, on a whole, it just seemed like there was just no energy going forward at all. I thought all of our front three were pretty poor on the day. Our midfield, I thought Højbjerg had an absolute.
Yeah.
Will, let me ask you something, okay? Because you do like your statistical analysis, your heat maps, and you like your tactical analysis. And you to be fair, he's not too bad at it, actually. Will's quite good. But do you think Conte got this wrong in terms of the way he set us up? And do you think after 20, 30 minutes watching how the game gone, he should have addressed it right there and then rather than wait till half time?
Yeah, I think with five subs, he probably should have done it earlier. You could just tell from the very beginning that we were outnumbered in the midfield. We needed to go to that 3-5-2 that we had been running against Liverpool or other top sides, West Ham in the second half. I think it was a bit slow on it. I think bringing Harry Winks in, a little bit earlier probably would have been a better thing. Not that he was super great on the day, but maybe bringing him in for Lucas Moore or something like that, or even Son. Probably not Son at that early. But just going to that 3-5-2 probably would have been a bit better. I didn't think that the four at the back necessarily fixed the problem either. The first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the second half, we looked all right, but still, I mean, our passes were pretty woeful. I mean, everybody's passes. Harry Kane's passes were off. I thought that ball that he played into Son, it was a good ball, but if you're watching back, it kind of hit him on the back of his front foot, so he couldn't really get a good touch on it. Still should have been faster. But
this is something I've been talking about a lot. I don't think our performances have been particularly great under Conte. I think against lesser teams, we're always going to beat Norwich at home. We should be beating Leeds. They're completely depleted with COVID and injuries. They've been ravaged by it. But in terms of a really convincing performance where we're dominating the game, we're dominating the play, creating wave after wave of attack, I haven't really seen that yet, but I don't expect to see that. He's only been at the job for 8 weeks, whatever, 2 months. He hasn't had the financial backing. He's got to do the best with what he's got. But I think tonight, the performance just summed up where we've been going. I mean, what do you make of the performance with like the way we played? Can Conte fix that without signings?
I just didn't see enough just like a mentality of winning that first and second ball. I mean, there was a couple of times in the midfield where Højbjerg literally just kind of sat there and let the ball roll to a Chelsea player rather than attacking that loose ball. I just didn't see. It seemed like they were the players on their mind were more worried about getting beat than going after loose balls, right? Like you can't do that. When you do that, you're basically giving them possession in the midfield. You got to be attacking those loose balls in that midfield that are coming across. And two, just from our, I mean, look, if you're playing a 3-4-3 and you have no wing backs at all, you have no left wing back, you have no right wing back that's doing anything to help set up the system's got to change, right? If your system relies on those players and you don't have those players on the pitch in order to make that system work, you got to do something else, right? You have to come up with a different plan, and you have to come up with a faster.
Do you think that's
I don't want to go too hard
in?
in.
Do you think that's a problem going forward? If
It's 100%
Emerson
the problem.
continues to kind of flatter to deceive, because he's a funny player, Emerson. There's people on social media that will put all these stats. Look at the most completed crosses of any player, and people say he can't cross. Well, today, when it really mattered, not against Norwich when we're 2-0 up, against Chelsea away, a big game, nothing really stuck for me that I was watching. So if, let's say, Emerson keeps flattering to deceive and Doherty keeps getting game time and Reggie doesn't quite do what we need from him, is this a problem going forward? Because Conte does seem a bit stubborn that we've got to stick to this system, we've got to stick to this way. Do you think this could potentially be a problem for us going forward?
Definitely against the teams that are, you know, top 6 teams. It's gonna hurt us going against Arsenal. It's gonna hurt us going against Chelsea on the second leg, and then Chelsea again in the league. That's the thing. In the league, we have really 2 tough fixtures coming up. You know, we've gone 8 or 9 matches undefeated in the league, and we have, you know, Arsenal and Chelsea is our next 2 matches in the league, right? So, we could either see ourselves moving into that top 4 in those 2 matches, even if we just come out with 2 points out of those 2 matches, or we could see ourselves, you know, 5-6 points off top 4 in the next 2 matches. So this is really kind of a really crucial point, and we got to figure out what we're doing on those wings. Like Emerson today, it just almost seems like he's scared to put the ball in, and when he does put the ball in, like if people look at that cross that he made to Lucas Moura, where Lucas Moura kind of, you know, had to do like a weird volley up over the bar.
Yeah, he was leaning back because the ball wasn't head high. It wasn't.
Yeah, the ball was just like this high, soft
height.
loop.
Yeah.
You can't get any power on soft crosses like that. And if you notice, and this is like, I do like stats and I do like looking at stats, but I also watch the matches too. And it's crosses like that would be considered a completed cross, but it's not doing anything to actually help set up a big chance. Scoring. Yeah, it's not helpful. At least Reguilon, even if he may not put in as many crosses as Emerson does, when he does put in a cross, it's at pace, it's at head height. You know, he's allowing people. That's why he has 3 assists and Emerson only has 1, right? And that one Emerson assist is off a counterattack. So it's a lot easier to get an assist off a counterattack than it is, you know, to do it from setting from at the byline. But it's, for me, the thing is too, is it like Son set him up with a cross, played a softball into space, and he could have attacked the ball and put a nice ball into the box, and he didn't. He just waited. Chelsea player pressed him, and he ended up turning the ball over again, trying to play it back to Son, kind of a bomb pass where Son's got his back to him, and he plays a pass into Son. And he's making poor choices for someone who has played regular minutes for a team in a top 5 league. And I don't want to go too hard in on Emerson. I think that he has some of the abilities to make himself a good player, but he's not showing it at all. And I think it just shows. I think it shows a huge amount of patience that Conte is targeting him out to practice crossing before the game. And he's 22. It's the first time in a new league. He doesn't speak English. Last time I checked, none of that was related to your ability to put a ball in the box.
It's another project excuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got a question here, Will, or a statement actually in the comments. Let's be honest, we've just picked up points against crap. Drew with a weak Liverpool and a man short Saints. Then our first test tonight, we were shown how to play football. We need a lot more. What positions do you think that are critical for Tottenham right now to begin this rebuild process? I appreciate we can't do this all in one go, but I know
How many players are you going to limit him to?
Well, I would say maybe one defender, one. Well, I'm already saying
he's got to pick
which
a position.
But yeah, I mean,
Just numbers.
2,
yeah,
3,
yeah,
1.
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3.
Okay, so 2 or 3. Number 1, I think Vlahovic has to be signed, and the fact that I haven't heard any links from him. We hear links about him all the time before the window opens. As soon as the window opens, nothing, silence, dead.
So Will, really are you asking for Vlahovic in particular, or is it the position of a quality
Vlahovic
striker?
in particular? Vlahovic in particular. Maybe if we're going for other positions, we upgrade. Say we were to go in and spend 35, 40 million pounds on a top right wing back, then maybe you could go in for somebody maybe like Jonathan David, who's the Canadian striker playing it in France. He could do a good job as someone to back up, someone who could fill in. He's scoring a lot of goals in Liga. He would be a good backup, right? I don't see Vlahovic as a backup. I see Vlahovic coming in, playing in front, Kane playing behind him. Son playing in an attacking mid type of a role on the left-hand side of a 3-5-2, something like that. Then I would probably say, so if you can't get Vlahovic, right wing back, we need a midfielder who can actually play the ball. McKinney, I think, would be amazing. He's gotten a lot of heat a little bit after the Juventus thing, but I watched that, and like him being overweight, that was in like the first episode, so it was his first week at the club. So I'm sure his fitness is a lot better now, and he's just the kind of player who's always finding himself in good positions, always finding himself in the box. Is one of those players who, at clutch moments, makes a key pass that leads to a goal, or he scores the goal himself. It doesn't matter who the competition is, if it's in the Champions League against Barcelona, or if it's in the league against Torino, your rival or whatever. He's always there to make a plan. Somebody like that. So that's 2. And then center backs wise, if right now, I don't think that the back 3 is our biggest, especially with Romero coming back in the team, is our biggest weakness right now. I think wing backs need to be addressed, midfielder needs to be addressed, and the front 3, we need to add 1 player in the front 3. So those are the 3 positions that I would pick.
So you've got your 3 in, and this is out for people in the comments section as well. Who are the 3 players you're absolutely fed up with right now, or maybe have been for some time? Who do you want out the door right now?
Only 3, Will.
Only 3?
I could pick more, but this is Daniel Levy. It's 1 in, 1 out. I'm sorry. It's his rules.
Daniel Levy's got to go too, but Dele Alli's got to go. Who else has got to go? Doherty's got to go. The next one may be a little controversial, but it's either Ndombele or Celso. One of those 2 has got to go.
I think something needs to be done. And Ndombele has probably been, out of all of them, the biggest disappointment, I think. Maybe not, don't know. I think the monetary value of him perhaps put that emphasis on it. Maybe if we spent 20 million on him, we'd be like, oh, well, we get what we pay
60 million
for.
in the wages he's on too.
When we spend the absolutely astonishing wages, absolutely astonishing transfer. I've never seen anything like it, and I said, Stelos, when we were at the Saints game the other day, I said, like, and Dembele, he's probably got about 10 minutes in him. 10 minutes in him every game, irrespective of you trying to build momentum with that man, you're not going to get it. He's just not got the stamina. There's no. He's on
more a week. He's on more a week than Son. He makes more a week than Son does, and he puts in a 10th of the value to the squad. Like even Son in bad form right now, which I don't necessarily think he's been in bad form. I just don't think he's Son that we saw last season. I think that's what everybody's judging him based off of, and that's fine. But I just don't think you're going to see that last season Son in this system. I think you're going to see a little bit. If you notice, he has his back to go a lot more this year than he did last year. So he's not going to be as sharp or looking as sharp as he did last season. If bad four is in his last 7 appearances, leading to 7 goal contributions, if that's bad form, I'll take that bad form over everybody else on the squad right now, because nobody else is doing that in bad form. But I mean, for me, it's just Ndombele he's making more than Son a week, and he's providing not even a 10th of a value to the squad.
I mean, we saw him come on today, and I thought, oh wow, we're actually attacking
for 10 minutes.
And I'm not even joking.
Minutes,
show me a game where it's been more than 10 minutes that he has put in a performance. I don't know what it is. It's like this is energy within him. He's like, right, I'm ready. Comes on for 10 minutes. Oh, I can't do this anymore. Like I've never seen a player like it. I've never seen anything like it.
I think we've lost a way of playing football, and he's going to be a victim of it. I'm not saying he's innocent, because work rate. It's almost like you said, we get a little brief spell and that's it. But I just feel as a team, ever since the Champions League final, maybe even just before then, we used to be such a wonderful team to watch under Poch, like an exhilarating side that you never feared anyone. That's all completely gone. And even now with Conte, we're getting results most of the time, but I don't look at the team and say, do you know what? I don't fear anyone. I do fear teams, because I look at the way we play. I look at, Wolverhampton Wanderers, their manager's gone in. Look at the way they play. Wolves are playing great football. Are they better than us? Some would argue, they are. They've got better players. Brighton, I think they play cracking football. But
they have a game plan, don't they?
But it all gets masked because we're winning games under Conte. And sometimes the win hides the performance, and eventually the performance will catch up with you. So
I mean, that's why this transfer window has to be done. We have to sign players in this window, because if we are doing what we're doing with the players that not all of us, but most of us who watch this team week in, week out said needed to go, a lot of the deadwood, if he can get at least these guys playing at this level, if you add 2 or 3 additions to this squad, what could he do then? Right? What could he do then?
Exactly.
We could see ourselves battering Chelsea. We could see ourselves battering Arsenal.
Manager.
Yeah, I mean, you give him 2 or 3 more tools, and he's going to be able to get results. I mean, he's grinding out results now. You give him a little bit more help, and I think we could go a lot far. You give him a lot more help by getting him 1 or 2 key signings. Who knows where we could be.
We need Conte players. That's what we need.
Yeah, and we need. It has to be done now. You can't. I think if you wait till the summer, you're running a risk of pissing him off, and you end up losing Conte. And then what? And
no European football, which is less money. We're less attractive to bring in these quality players. Again. And like you said, we do piss off the manager. I agree. Now we need to do something now.
Honestly, I might be looking too much into this, because it was after a defeat. It was after a defeat against Chelsea, and I think Conte being passionate was probably going to be very disappointing in general. But the conference, the press thing afterwards, just rung alarm bells to me immediately. Maybe I'm looking too much into it because of the emotion of the game and what has occurred, but it just felt like he'd been given a statement in the back end that he had to basically adhere to. And I also I saw his face. It's not the face of like
it's a bit deflated,
the energetic manager that you saw in the press conference. It was almost like, wow, this is like an absolute mess.
Have we broken Conte?
We haven't had a meeting yet, and probably nothing's going to happen. So why on earth am I here? And now I'm stuck here. And it's, by the way, we got to be patient. Maybe not this window, maybe not the next one, maybe the next one, who knows? And then by then, half the squad's depleted, it's old.
His contract's expired.
His contract's expired. I just feared after his comments tonight, it wasn't Conte. I can tell it a mile off. I told him a mile off with that Super League thing. Levy supposedly come out with his statement about the Super League and apologising. I knew for a fact he didn't write that. That was a PR nonsense statement. I work in marketing. I know how to bullshit people all day long. So I understand that. But Conte sat there today it slightly concerned me. I'm not going to lie. And I think he's now in the mindset, finally, of that honeymoon period maybe has already disappeared, and that he's now in amongst us Spurs fans' mindsets to realise what shit we're actually in and what actually how gigantic this job is.
There's a lot of Spurs fans out there who really believe top 4 is on. They really think it's on and this squad's good enough. I'm telling you, I speak to them all the time. And there some of them on YouTube as well. And it's fair enough because it's all about opinions.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I agree. Honeymoon period's over. We always said January's the big month. Carabao Cup, Arsenal, top 4 deciding games.
We have Chelsea
window.
After Arsenal as well. We have
Chelsea
Arsenal.
right
We have
after
Chelsea
Arsenal.
semi-final. We have Arsenal,
This
and we have
big
Chelsea again. And I swear to God, if we have another performance like we do tonight, it would damage Conte massively, because he's a passionate, dedicated man, like I am, like many Spurs fans are, that require a demonstration of a unique, specific level performance, something we haven't seen for a very, very, very long time, bar a couple of snippets, like Stadio said, arguably against weaker teams. It was still nice to see a bit of Vivaz back in the club. And that's not me being negative. That's me saying I want more of that. But I'm just really, really conscious the fact that come the end of January, we've had all this very nice December, arguably, and we've had 2 games postponed as well. But after tonight, if we undo ourselves against Arsenal and Chelsea at London games again, I'll be extremely pissed off, and so will Conte.
January is a key month for this club. It's a massive month for this club.
It's a huge month. And the one thing that I want to say, even if it's only like 50 million and you go in and you get Kessie, McKinney, and Traore or something like that, even something simple like that in January would help out so much, right? Just even like, because those are ready-made players. You're not buying young players for the future that have to work out. You know, Traore, he may not be a good finisher, but at least he's attacking. At least he's going in.
Look what Bruno Fernandes did for Man United.
Exactly. And you're only talking, what, 25 million euro for you, McKennie, 20 million euro for Traore, and like 10 million euro for Kessie right now in January. I've already seen reports saying that AC Milan will let him go for 10 million because he's going for a free in the summer. Just go in and do that. You're talking 55 million pounds. You're getting 3 players in who are going to attack the ball. They're going to help progress our attack. You know, they're not defensive players. Like even Traore, even if he's not doesn't have a good end product in his crosses or in his shooting, he takes on him. He goes one-on-one with a man so much that it's going to draw center backs and wing backs out, which is going to create space for Son.
He does more than Emerson.
100% he's going to do more than Emerson. So even at that, even if that's the bare minimum, I would say at least it's an 8 out of 10 window, right? Like we may not be getting the guy that we need, that we can go for in the summer, but at least that we have to do some business this weekend. If we go this window without buying anybody, my rant show is going to be untenable.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, look what he's doing with this. Imagine we just gave him a little bit more support, what he could do. And then in the summer, we can really address what needs to be addressed.
And bringing Conte players in with his philosophy will hopefully draw that Conte even more to the other players as well. Irrespective of their level that they are currently. And I'm talking about mainly the younger players who are trying to look around the team right now and go, where on earth am I getting my inspiration from? It's non-existent. Bringing in the players that Conte wants, then the players around you start going, oh yeah, I feel this now. I wanna build up, and I do want to be a part of this, because if I don't, then I'm out the door in the summer or whatever. You know, some players are just terrible and you can't do anything about it. I think we know they are. But there's going to be some players there where we know they've got the talent, where they've got the big potential and the opportunity to do well under Conte, but they're being let down by players around them. And I think bringing in, like you say, 2 or 3 Conte philosophy players will do the world of good for Conte. It will do the world of good for us fans to think finally something's happening. And I think it would do a world of good as well for some of the existing players that we know need a bit of an edge and a direction of how we should be playing our football moving forward. That's what I think.
100%. I agree with you. 100%.
So, Will, before we let you go, do you think we can turn this around I always call it White Hart Lane. I will never call it the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Can we turn this around at White Hart Lane And
Will we?
Yeah, will we?
Will we turn it around? I don't know. There's a chance. There's always a chance. I mean, we're only 2 goals down, so all we need to do is just, take it 2-0. That's what I'm saying. On our day, if we could get Son and Kane firing, even in more firing, and we can put 3 past them. Like they didn't seem to me today to be like some kind of iron chariot that's just going to roll over us. I didn't see that today. So it is possible. Is it likely? I don't know, but definitely possible. But guys, thanks for having me on. And if people want to check out my show, I'm going live later tonight.
Yeah, Will, plug your show. We let Tottenham Tantrum do it, so do it.
Oh yeah, so Will Stewart, THFC Rants. I do a fan channel here in the United States. We do shows during the week and during the evening. Kind of go in prime time, U.S. time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we just kind of do after show matches and previews, FPL, all kinds of different stuff.
Are you doing one today?
Yes, sir. We'll be doing one today, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
What time is that UK time?
5 hours behind.
2 a.m.
All right, all the
right,
2 a.m. UK massive and the 9 p.m. Eastern time massive. Get onto Will's show later on and check him out.
Will,
Thanks, guys.
pleasure.
Stay strong, stay Spurs. Let's go.
Thanks, buddy.
Stay strong. Yeah.
Okay, Vinny, tell us what's going on. George, you're here with us today, right now, live, in front of the millions of fans. What do you think of today's performance, my friend? Oh, hang on, mate. Hang on.
I think you're on mute, George.
I've just taken myself off
There we
mute.
go.
Is that okay?
You're here with us now.
That's it. We can hear you now.
Brilliant.
Welcome.
Yeah, it was poor. It was really disappointing. I can't deny. I thought that after the Liverpool game, I thought we had finally turned some sort of a corner, but it's we then follow it up with those real problem games that we don't seem to be able to create much, and it's difficult to see where that creation is going to come from. So I was listening to some of the stuff that you were saying, what's needed and what's required. We do need, if ultimately what we're looking for is to win trophies and major trophies, I think we're way away from that. I mean, we're probably looking at maybe a 3, 4, 5-year plan. I hate to say it, but I think that's what it's looking like.
I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, I mean,
and also everyone around us, George, because I mentioned earlier, Southampton now got a billionaire owner. Newcastle have got the world's finances at their feet. Not saying that they'll develop instantly, but your point is exactly right. 3 to 4 years. Where do we go?
Well, look, initially we need 2 or 3 players in Conte players here. So Conte needs to be given the reign, the funds, and the backing from the board to go out there to get initially 3 players to try and get back into that top 4 position. I think at the moment, if we ever do get top 4 with that squad, it's going to be more than luck than I've ever seen. I mean, I think we need to give credit where credit is due, and Poch was basically managing to get a squad of players punching way above their capabilities for a long time there. And I think we had a mix of tenacity, youth, and a little bit of experience. I think maybe the experience is where we were lacking to really take us onto that next step, and where we should have been looking to build on. That never happened. We lost a significantly key player in Dembele, where I think that is what we are missing right now. We're missing somebody who's able to get that ball at their feet and then actually terrify the opposition when they've got the ball. And you could tell with Chelsea today, any time that we had the ball, they weren't scared. It was, well, we'll win it back in the end. And I just thought that our team, that Tottenham just lacked the belief tonight to do anything. And it was it was quite sad to see, really, considering, like I said, that Liverpool game where we played extraordinarily well. And then you just realise, look, these players cannot pull out consistent performances week in, week out. And that's what separates the chaff from the wheat. It's to be able to consistently perform week in, week out. And that's what we don't have.
Do you know, there's one thing I'll add to what you said, George, and that is you spoke about how you praised Poch and how well he did. One thing I will say that Poch was fortunate with, and it's not a detriment to Poch, because for me, I wanted him to stay and I wanted him back. I thought the football we played under Poch was sensational. But he was dealing with a group of players when all the competition weren't at their best. Man United were post-Fergie, Man City were in transition, Arsenal were crumbling. Liverpool, we were level.
They were at the beginning, really, weren't they?
Yeah.
Development with Klopp, yeah.
But you look at Tottenham now. I think Conte's job's bigger than Poch's, because he's taken over a team where Man City look invincible. Liverpool, they're still top drawer. Chelsea at any point can just drop £200 million and fix their problems, and they've proven tonight they're ahead of us. Arsenal are now coming into the third season of their rebuild, and they're now looking like they are bearing the fruits of the past 3 years of Arteta out, eighth. But there's a lot of patience there from the board, not the fans. But it looks, we don't know yet, it looks like it's working. And then you've got Man United. Look, they're not going to continue to be crap Man United. And like you said, Southampton have got a big new owner. Yeah. Newcastle got a big new owner. Leicester. I think
Wolves.
The Tottenham job now is harder than when Poch took over, because of the level of competition we're now up against. So when George says we need 3, 4, 5 years, I totally agree. We need a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of investment. There's some people in the comments, George, saying that we need to look at our scouts. Well, what I'll say about that is I know scouts at Tottenham. Do you think they're being listened to by the hierarchy? Or do you think the hierarchy is saying, how much? How much does the player want? There's a negotiate. The scouts can identify the players, but then it's down to the club to negotiate whether or not they're going to buy the player or not. We do have the scouts, guys. How do you think we got Dele Alli? How do you think we got Ericsson? How do you think we identified Pape Sarr, who I will tell you now is a quality young player? Pape Sarr's a top player, but he's gone back on loan. That's part of the agreement. He'll be good in 2-3 years' time, ready for Tottenham. We do have the scouts. It's at the top.
Yeah.
It all boils down from incompetence at the top. And you can look.
You're using very pleasant words there, George.
Well, the reality is that it is incompetence, because when you look at this in the cold light of day, and I fully understand. I mean, my background is in finance, accountancy, so I'm not, I'm a figures guy, and I fully understand that we've built a stadium here that's coming way over budget. But then again, we've got to look at who's actually paid for that stadium, firstly, and that's us as the supporters, because ENIC certainly haven't put that money in. So you look at the whole scenario here of who's actually paid for the stadium is the supporters. We've paid for it.
George, did that stop us from spending 65 million on Ndombele, giving him 200k a week? Did it stop us from spending 40 million on Lo Celso? Did it stop us from spending 55 million on Romero? The money's there, in my opinion, George. It's who's making the decision of who and what player comes in. If it's not the manager, then this is going to continue to go wrong.
Yeah, I think the difference there, though, still, is that we've got to distinguish a player where we're taking a punt, which is what the players that you've mentioned were, because whatever we say, these weren't tried, tested players. We wanted them desperately and perhaps paid slightly over the odds, and in Ndombele's instance, well over the odds. So we needed somebody as a replacement for Dembele. And we looked around and said, look, in order to replace Dembele, we've got to be looking at spending an incredible amount of money. So we've got to look at what we can get in order to try and develop. And they obviously singled out Ndombele, who, in the Champions League looked phenomenal. I mean, obviously we don't see him week in, week out. And other than YouTube clips where everybody's, I mean, you put me on my best moments on YouTube clips, I'll look great. But it's seeing through that and seeing that we've been taking punts on a lot of these players, and they just haven't worked out. We took a punt on Sanchez. He's playing better now than he was. But is he really a £40 million defender? If we look at it in the cold light of day, I just don't think it is. So what are we looking at then as an alternative? The alternative is to go out there and spend big on proven signings and pay their wages. And unfortunately, Tottenham aren't going to do that right now. So the only way that it's going to be done is bringing through players through the youth academy. And hopefully
which Conte doesn't do, by the way, George. Conte doesn't bring through youth academy players.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I've heard that a lot. I mean, I take all of that with a pinch of salt. I think if any manager,
any club he's coached at, he's not really done it.
I wonder if there'll be pressure from Tottenham more so because of the. But
then, for me, there is a misalignment between the direction in which the club wants to go and the type of manager that we brought in. If we're going to go down that road, rather than paying £20 million to Antonio Conte, you break the bank and you bring in Ten Hag, who does it every year at Ajax. So to bring in Antonio Conte is either a vanity move, a misalignment of direction, or they're not going to go down that youth route. Or there's been a lie.
Or Conte was brought in to appease us.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't add up
magical curtain.
Listen. I see your point, and I'm not denying it. I'm just trying to look at this after spending all my time being negative.
You're trying to be logical with Spurs.
Well, I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to switch from being negative to positive here, and saying to myself, if any manager sees the potential in a player, they'll bring them in. In the clubs that he's been at, we are talking about having the luxury of being able to spend big. So obviously that's going to happen. So with your Chelseas and with your Inters, these clubs will naturally throw money, and if a manager's got it, they'll spend it. But undeniably, if you have got a player in your youth ranks that you can see is good, I'm sure that they'll bring them through.
He's doing it with Skip, isn't he? He's doing it with Skip. He's doing it with Skip, but I don't think he's going to do it with Tanganga and with Dane Scarlett and with Pape Sarr and with just because he's never ever done that before. Every manager has like that one, maybe two youth players that they bring through. Even Jose Mourinho, who got blasted for never bringing through youngsters, he's the one that brought through Skip. Let's get real. He's the one that gave him the chance. He's the one that did play Dane Scarlett.
Absolutely.
I think every manager does do that, but if we are going to be very youth heavy, I do not believe for 1 second Antonio Conte is going to be the right manager then.
It's a formula that you've got to look at here. And again, I take your point that you were saying still, that when we look at, say, the Man United model or the Arsenal model and how these clubs, the Chelsea model, how they've been successful, the reality is that there isn't a model here that you look at and say, that's what proved to be successful, and you follow that route.
Correct.
Ultimately, what we're looking at here is a formula. We're looking at a formula at the right time, at the right balance, which is going to be able to create a successful team. Poch was able to do that. I personally think that what he was lacking at the time was that experienced player, that head in there that would be able to carry some of those youth or some of the younger heads at the time, like Harry Kane, and bring them up to that next level.
Coach, I think. Toby Alderweireld, Jan Vertonghen,
then we had
Dele Alli,
the guy
Ericsson.
Before he
Ericsson
then
was
went
before,
to
actually.
Leicester or something, didn't he? I can't remember his name. That wasn't
Paul Mitchell.
Yeah, it wasn't Hitchin.
It was Mitchell.
It was a very good scout who went to Leicester and then Leicester go and win the title, right? So,
well,
what does that say?
They had, don't forget they had Huth at the back, who was a very experienced player. I seem to remember he used to play for Chelsea. He may have even won a league title with Chelsea.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think he won trophies with Chelsea. But you need that formula, and you need it all to trigger at the same time. Arsenal managed it with Arsene Wenger. He had the French Black Book and knew, at the time when the French football was flying, he was able to draw down on those players and his experience in that respect. And he was a fantastic coach. Plus, he had there Tony Adams, Ian Wright, Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp was there before. Was before him. So, you know, there was a right formula at that time. I think you've got to aim to hit the formula as opposed to a model and say, well, compare ourselves now to a Chelsea, a Man United, or these clubs that were successful. We've got to create our own formula in order to push forward.
It does start at the top. Out of interest, George, from 1 to 10, how confident are you that Spurs will get some signings in January?
Was that Brian Daigle I heard laughing?
So 10 being, we will definitely get some players, and 1 being
leave you out.
No, ENIC out.
Listen, I'm as ENIC out as Brian there. I've never met Brian, but I've seen him a lot.
Brian is a hero.
A cult hero. Look, it's a tough one. We're not going to get players in January because the right players at the moment, unless I'm missing something, are not available. The Spurs, that type of player isn't available.
If you pay the price, isn't the player available?
Sorry?
If you pay the price, doesn't the player become available?
Yes.
So they're available then.
As an accountant, George, actually, this is a good point. From a risk assessment perspective, when you're talking about money, right? So the only thing I can logically think of that works in Daniel's favour, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you could go and spend 200 million in this window or summer, but is that going to return you anything? And base that on the fact of what Liverpool have done, what City spend, what Chelsea spend, what Newcastle spend, what Southampton, everyone else. As a chairman that's very, very heavily involved in a balance sheet of profitability, profit over glory, as Brian always says, being in the black is the most significant part for him to get his bonus and keep Joe Lewis happy. Is that something that we need to perhaps really consider, in the sense that they may go, it may not be the case that we don't want to spend this money. It may be the fact that actually the risk of this is quite significant, in the sense we're not going to get a title in the next 5 years, no matter if we spend 300-400 million, because what everyone else is doing and the quality and the pool that they have. We might win a small cup or something, but not enough to pull in the revenue that we need. Do you think, as an accountant's perspective, I'm trying to psychologically find an answer as to why Daniel Levy is such an arse, basically, and won't do things properly. And that's the only logical thing I can think of from a monetary value perspective, from a business, which is what we are. We must not kid ourselves. Football is business now, and about black and red. What do you think that's one of the main reasons why we don't do it, or do you just think Daniel Levy is so egotistic that we just won't develop under him until we're sold?
No, I don't think Daniel Levy and ENIC are not about football. I think we've just got to face reality here. These are not football people. They try and paint the picture of being football people, but they're not. So we've got to distinguish here. You mentioned risk. For Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, for Liverpool Football Club, if you just go down that top 6 or 7, there is no risk. They have a support base there, and when you look at us, we haven't won a trophy for how long? But that stadium, we were accommodating crowds in excess regularly of 70, 80,000 at Wembley. There is no risk here with Tottenham Hotspur. And we're also talking about a fan base that pays a lot of money on merchandising. So if you push that club into success, and we almost managed it just by sheer luck when we got into the Champions League, into the Champions League final. If you encourage that profile, there is no risk that the money will come rolling in. So therefore you ask the question as to why it's not happened. The reason is the goal was always to build a stadium, was to build a leisure facility for ENIC as cheaply as possible. And we have done that for them. That's what we have done as supporters. So we've created this for us, for the supporters. It's the white elephant in the room. We built this fantastic stadium, beautiful stadium. We're all, I actually met Ben and Sim I don't know if it was both of them, but certainly one of them and Grandad at one of the inaugural events where we were allowed in. And we were just so proud of this, stadium that we had built. But the reality is it's in a different company. It doesn't really belong to us. And basically, ultimately, what we're looking at is a facility that was built for ENIC as a leisure facility. And how much of that money is ultimately going to go onto players and success for Spurs? Let's wait and see.
George, can I ask you a question about on this subject? When you look at the wage bill of a lot of our main competitors, the bigger clubs, so to speak, their wage bill is a far larger percentage of the turnover than what Spurs is. And I was reading a financial report from I forgot his name. He's good in the football world. I forgot his name. I need to get his name. But he was saying that we are at a disadvantage as a club because we can't compete with Man United and Liverpool in wages because they've got such a huge global fan base that they can pull from the financial resources of their global fan base, which is bigger than ours, which they can then pay higher wages to then secure the deals of certain players that we fail to secure. But my argument to this is, and this is where I question ENIC and Levy and I say this is unacceptable, is how did they get that huge global fan base? Well, guess what? They're the first and second most successful trophy-winning clubs in England. Chelsea never had a fan base like Spurs. They've never, ever had a fan base size of Spurs. But now they do. It's bigger. Why? Trophies. The global fan base, and the internet has allowed us to have a global fan base. If you win trophies, you will have that global fan base. So you can tap into a much bigger resource, a much bigger pool of income. If you invest big at one point, maintain that for a period of time, be a successful club that wins trophies, you will grow that fan base and therefore grow your income streams. So surely, George, from a business perspective, Daniel Levy and ENIC should be pumping money into this club to try and be successful because the long-term income growth comes from that.
If you're looking at trying to generate money through Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, 100% agree. What I doubt is that was ever looked at when ENIC first took over the club, which was 2001. Talk about coming on to 25 years ago now. I think if you look at the time scale of the way things happened, when the planning permission went in for the new stadium, if you look at all that, you will see that I think that the goal was different. You're obviously of Cypriot descent as I am. If you go to Cyprus, you've hit the nail on the head with what you just said. Who are the main clubs that Cypriot support? It tends to be Manchester United.
I think every country's like that, George. Every country, everyone supports Juve or Milan, Paris Saint-Germain or Marseille. It's the biggest clubs.
Yeah, agreed. But
Bayern Munich, Dortmund.
What happened in the 90s when Arsenal started becoming more successful? You started seeing a more prevalence in Cyprus than of Arsenal. What you're saying, what I'm trying to say is that I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. If you're looking to increase the profile of a club through trophies, people are attracted to success. So of course, naturally, the merchandising, your fan base is going to increase exponentially on the basis that you're winning trophies. Now, if that was the goal, ENIC would have been throwing money at that stage in order to try and increase the player profile within Tottenham. That never happened. It was always trying to do things on the cheap. And yes, you pay the best wages, you're going to get the best employees. It works in any field. So, if you're going to pay £200,000-300,000 a week, you're going to get the best players. It's straightforward. So whether there is going to be a change in goal now from ENIC saying, okay, well, we've got what we wanted now. We've got this leisure facility. We are now going to decide to actually focus on Tottenham and increasing their profile. Let's see. I'm very surprised that Conte's at Tottenham. And I hope that's the first step in me consistently being surprised by Tottenham over the next few years. And let's hope we see some silverware.
Swinging that back round, George, thank you for that insight. back around to what the whole topic we've just been discussing is the development of the team. Clearly today the team has lacked some significant desire and perhaps quality. What's your sort of main position or two that you think are really critical, hopefully in January, if not the summer, that we really need to fix right now? Because I'll read it out now as well, actually. There's a super chat saying that we could trade Doherty for Traore and Wolves and get some money from Celtic for Carlton Vickers. So that might maybe raise some funds. And I'm sure there's maybe one or two to go out there. But let's say we get rid of a couple, and there might be some swap deals to be had possibly. What are the two kind of key positions for you right now that you think Tottenham really need to focus on and survive and try and get the best we can out of these next few months of the rest of the Premier League and hopefully the remaining cup competitions?
You need a prolific striker. You're going to need a Vlahovic in there. You're going to need a goal-scoring midfielder, as you were. I can't remember who mentioned it earlier on. If it was one of the callers or yourself, or I mentioned it, Stell. Yeah. But definitely you need goals from midfield, or a midfielder who is good enough to put their foot on that ball and not lose it. So we can't afford these beautiful occasional dribbles from a Lucas Moura, and then for him to be pushed off the ball, and then we lose it, and then we end up with a shrug of the shoulders and sort of this, and saying, "Well, ref, give me something." You can't afford to have that. You need somebody in there who's going to be able to hold the ball, and somebody who's going to be able to create. Also, you're going to need somebody at centre back as well, because I just don't have Dyer and Sanchez have increased their ability this season by the looks of it, but there is still the occasional gaff there. I mean, we were very lucky against Southampton with Dyer, with his loss of focus and that slip, that we didn't lose that game in the last seconds. I just get the feeling with those two centre backs that something like that is imminent, that something like that is going to happen.
He also passed the ball to the West Ham, gave away possession to West Ham when they scored the equaliser against us.
Exactly.
In the last round of the Cup.
Exactly. So I think you need a player in those three positions. So you need to create a further spine, and that maybe will give us a push to try and get into those top four slots. But there'll have to be big signings. It can't be a Traore. It can't be somebody who's on the periphery of looking good to take a punt.
To finish off, George, your friend Brian is on the chat saying we want our Tottenham back. Enough is enough. Levy out. Good man, Brian. Do you think Conte will be positive enough to stick around for next season, or do you think that January is imperative? And certainly maybe obviously the end of season discussions. Do you think we will have Conte at our football club next season if nothing is done, basically?
I think that if we lose Conte, that the board will implode. Because I think
maybe we need Conte to
the fan base is now seeing things for what it is.
Yeah.
I think the fan base generally has lost total faith in the board, because they've seen what Liverpool's been able to achieve. As you said, we were pretty much on parity with Liverpool, 2-3 seasons ago. And all of a sudden, they're now one of the best teams in Europe, if not potentially one of the sort of top 5 teams in the world. And we've fallen so far behind. Yeah. We're now sort of, struggling to create chances to beat Southampton, West Ham, and Leeds. I don't think Conte was ever hit with the honeymoon period. I've never seen after that first half at Leeds. I've never seen a team or a Spurs team booed that quickly.
Yeah.
That performance, that first half performance, and the realization that something had to happen quick. I don't think the fans will tolerate Conte walking away on the basis of not being back.
It's got a lot of power, Conte, you know.
Yeah, I literally think it's the most significant managerial signing we've had in the ENIC tenure, because it's like I said earlier, like Jose, there was the argument that he was probably not past. I still think he's a top manager. He's still got a lot to offer to many players, but the grand scheme of things, he's pretty done most of it. But with Conte, we've got a man in the moment manager, a top manager, i.e. if you don't go for Pep, if you don't go for Klopp, and you want someone that you know that can win stuff, you're probably going to pick Conte as maybe the third option. There might be another one out there, obviously, as well. But the mix is there for the taking for us. But this is now where we had Nuno with ENIC out chance. When I was at that game, I've never experienced hostility like that at Tottenham before, other than maybe when my dad used to tell me about the Alan Sugar days, right, in the 90s. And that was the last few days of his tenure there as chairman of Tottenham, before ironically selling them to ENIC. So it was very much like Daniel panicking, going, oh, wow, we need to actually do what we were supposed to do in the summer. Let's get the checkbook out and get this sorted once again. Waste a load of another bunch of money that we could have been spending on players. God knows how much Mourinho costs. No idea how much Nuno costs, but that's a good probably 30, 40 million that went down the pisser, as it were. So we're now in this situation where actually we're in a very big win-win, because Conte will either get the best out of these players somehow, or at least maybe get some players that will come in with his philosophy and we might start doing something, or he'll walk and then the fans will go absolutely ballistic, and then Brian will be leading us all the way down the high road in Tottenham once more to try and find out where Daniel Levy is and get them all out in one go. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, he either gets back to we win trophies, or he walks and we get rid of the owners. That's
yeah, I mean, look.
Or we make their life very, very, very difficult that they don't want to be here anymore.
There's a fine line that this board is now walking. I'm not just saying just Levy. I'm saying the entire board.
George, we agree with you, buddy.
Yeah,
we agree,
100%. It's a real tightrope that they're running, and
it's a lads' club, George. It's a lads' club.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me. It feels like a lads' club. They're all mates.
They've just about got away with the whole European Super League thing. They just about got away with the whole European Super League thing.
Yeah.
And by sheer luck, other clubs started dropping out, and we were able to go the same way. I'll say sort of as my because there's a very eminent person in Brian Daigle waiting to come on as well. Enough respect to Brian and what he says and what he does, and thank you for saying everything that most Tottenham supporters want to say and getting heard.
Bless you, George. It's been a pleasure, and I found it very insightful learning about the accountancy side, the finance side. So thank you very much for joining us,
George.
Absolutely brilliant.
I think you're a really knowledgeable fan. And please call back in on the show again in the future. I don't know if you've already called in the past, but please keep calling in, because you bring a different angle, different insight that we need to hear as fans.
I appreciate it. I think you guys I think you're far more knowledgeable than I am still. I've seen quite a few of your insightful sort of tactical shows with Sim.
What you don't know, George, is I'm actually in an earpiece in his ear telling him what to say.
I'm on the touchline being controlled by Levy up in the skies.
Brilliant.
Well, good call, George.
Thank you, George.
Appreciate it.
See you soon. Thank you,
buddy.
One.
Take care. Be safe. I just want to quickly say to everyone watching the show, I think there's about 600 people watching. Can you please hit the like button and give us a big thumbs up to the channel? It really helps the show. Also, we've plugged Will Stewart THFC Ranked. We've plugged Tottenham Tantrum. I need to plug my channel. Can you all please jump across to Tottenham Away on YouTube? Give us a subscribe, like our channel, and you can find more content with me and tactical analysis on Tottenham Hotspur. I hope you find it good stuff. That's Tottenham Away. Hero. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the corporate box of Daniel Levy. He stepped out. He's come across to We Are Tottenham TV.
He only flies in from Canada just to say his piece to Daniel Levy, and then he flies back again. He's the one and only, the hero.
Brian Daigle. Sorry. I did that on purpose.
What's up, boys? Still, just to answer your first thing, if I was in a corporate box with him, I think I'd be behind bars, let alone in my bedroom. So let's be serious. But listen, I want to say, first of all, you guys, I'm sure you did a great job, but I don't know why everyone's bitching and moaning. Why is everyone bitching and moaning? We want to get to semi-finals and lose. We want to get to semi-finals and look like mugs. We want to get semi-finals and outplayed because we're achieving. We're almost there. That's what Tottenham do. Wake up, fucking parasitic idiots. Idiots.
Brian's here.
This is what you want. This is success. Get to a semi-final. Yeah. Oh, nearly. Ah, shucks. Brian. So embarrassing. That was embarrassing tonight. That was appalling. That was a disgrace. That was shocking. The lack of depth is down to a parasite. Tanganga, nightmare. Doherty on a left wing when you got Reguilon on the bench. And people go, yeah, but all right. And still, I'm actually
Brian, I was half enjoying December in terms of like getting some wins, but always in the back of my head, even from when Conte started, I mentioned it earlier, January was probably my most fearful month because I just know from within nothing's going to happen. And I hope I'm completely wrong. I'm honestly saying that. I want to be wrong, but the history repeats itself, and I just have this horrible fear that Conte's already said after the match. I don't know if you heard it personally, but saying that we've got to be patient. He's got to be patient. Tottenham has got a gigantic job ahead of it to bring players in, but I just can't see it happening, Brian. I don't know what you think about that, but I just can't. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the frustrating thing is very apparent today. It's exactly what you said. The performance is unacceptable, as we've seen many times. We don't have a right to win every game, but what we should be doing is giving 100%. And I saw probably 10% today. What do you think about today's game, mate? And this general, I just feel like there's a big grey cloud coming again,
Mate, listen. People either... First of all, I want to say, I know it's still in the back end. George, thank you for the very, very kind words, mate. You were a fantastic guest. Incredible. Obviously, I get very, very extreme and I get very, very agitated and wound up about this. Now, listen, we've seen this panto happen a million times. This is not our first rodeo. This is not our first time that we've gone, this manager... the naming rights for our stadium should be, this year will be different lane. Because that's literally... what we get to hear every single time. The window is open. Everton have brought in their fullbacks. Newcastle, we knew were going to make moves. Coutinho looks like it's going to be Villa. I've heard it's going to be Villa. And obviously you've got the Steven Gerrard, Coutinho link as well, which is going to play a big, big factor in it. Whether you wanted Coutinho or not, Poch wanted him, but we couldn't get him and he went to Bayern Munich. And we're regurgitating the same old crap again and again and again. We have another chance to get him at a tenth of the price. We can get him on cheaper wages. We can bring him in on loan. But when it comes to shove, let's just put our name in the hat so it looks like we're doing something, but actually do absolutely nothing. All these teams are making moves, like you said, Simon, correctly. Southampton, bought by billionaires. West Ham, everyone been bought. And we're just standing still and allowing it. We're just standing still. And recently, the Levy Outlaw, which, as you know, I'm a very proud member of and forefront of and have the voice to talk about and will do whatever it takes to get this job done. We came in for a lot of heat again. But we said, do you know what? We all decided, January, because we don't want to, obviously, all the Levy inners are on the fences going, look at what you're doing. You're doing this in January. We haven't done anything yet. Well, let's see what happens. We thought, do you know what? Let's give him till January. Let's give him till January the 31st, see where this is. And then when we're right and proved right, because we've seen this again, then we'll do something. Well, do you think we're going to sit around after that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's acceptable?
Brian, you and I, we go back a long way since we were kids. We were in the same class together. We sat next to each other at school for 7 odd years. We reunited. Came to a mitzvah. You visited me in Palmer's Green, even though I don't live there. He keeps telling me I live there. And we reunited on Facebook because of Enoch out, Levy out. I was posting things all the time. You know I'm Enoch out. You know I'm Levy out. But I'm just trying to keep myself level-headed here. I'm not saying that you're not, right?
I'm not. Let's face it, I'm not.
Brian's long gone. Don't worry about him.
All right, Brian, you're a complete nut.
You cannot convince the man otherwise.
You're a complete nut job. I've got some sanity still. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But we have. I'm just trying to just bring a bit of balance to the conversation. That's all. We have brought in Conte, hands down, the best proven in his prime relevant manager this club has ever seen in decades. Right, that is under Levy and Enoch. The stadium is now built. The fans are back. The revenue's coming in. Like you just said, and these are your words, we'll give him to the 31st of January. We've only just got into January. Should we not bite our tongues and just see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks? I don't think we should wait to the right at the end because we might miss the boat. Yeah. But should we not just give it another 2-3 weeks, Brian, before we make the decision on has things changed yet? Yes or no?
So I'll just first of all, do you remember when he signed? He was promised some, not a war chest now, but he was promised sizable funds in January.
Was that just speculation? Was that just us fans talking on Twitter? Because I don't know. I don't know if there's truth in that.
ITK.
Everyone was saying all the Levy-ins were he wouldn't have come unless he signed this. And there was money
different.
there.
I agree. No, I agree, Brian. I agree with that 100%.
All came in and said that he wouldn't come because of this. He wouldn't come because of that.
No, he's going to get back. Otherwise, why would he take the job? Yeah.
But then just before the window, things are a little bit tight and it's not as big as we think. And then you hear Alistair Gold, and Alistair Gold, I trust more than Sky Sports News. People may not agree with him. People may think whatever is him, but he is the one person that has a little connection to the club that will come out and speak. You know what I mean? Like when he said with Gareth Bale, he said, I'm not going to talk about Gareth Bale because it's all hype, all rumour. And then when he knew it was a fact, bang, Gareth Bale. Yeah. So I've got a lot of time for him. We have been told he's going to have money to invest. And then it was like, oh, wait a minute. Well, no, he hasn't. Wait a minute. No, wait, it's a little bit small. Still, we have been here before so many times.
Conte like owes us money now.
If when it comes to these players, we've had
Brian,
so much.
I don't disagree, but my question is, should we not wait another couple of weeks and see what actually happens in this window? Because I'm not for 1 second saying Vlahovic is coming or Kessie's coming, but just imagine
we have to wait.
2 good players did happen. Yeah. Then we're kind of eating humble pie because we've jumped too early. I'm just saying, should we be a bit patient for a couple of weeks?
We definitely have to wait till the 31st of January.
Still, we are waiting a couple of weeks.
We are.
We are. I wanted to go on. I said I was going to fly home on the 13th, and everyone knows I've extended my ticket and the reason why. And I said on the 14th I'll be outside. And then when I put it out on WeAreTottenhamTV, because of the stuff of flying over for Bob, I missed a lot going on in our group. A lot. There was a vote to say what do we do over January. I didn't see it because obviously my mind was completely elsewhere. So then we start, and I didn't see it. So we got talking yesterday, day before I cut, and we said a lot of people said, you know what? Let's give it till the end of the month. Let's go silent. Also, the thought of protesting outside the shop where we do with the 2 Chelsea games, a Chelsea game and an Arsenal game. Yeah, there's going to be chaos there. So it's just that wasn't worth it. So we were like, do you know what?
Bad timing, bad timing.
Yeah, and there was talk as well about doing it for the Morecambe game. But then when you think it's FA Cup 3rd round day and it's like a family day where the kids go,
yeah, like 10 people there.
Exactly, we're like we are peaceful. People think we're the nutcases that are going there causing rucks, and we're not. We are respectful of, and we understand that there's going to be a lot of kids at the FA Cup, so we're not doing it at the FA Cup. We're not doing it at Chelsea and Arsenal because you know exactly what could happen and what is very, very likely. Look what happened with West Ham.
Oh, it's crazy. I was right in the middle.
Exactly. So we've been saying, do you know what? we're going to give it till the end of January. And then if at the end of January nothing happens, then he is literally put a target on his back.
I think a lot of fans are going to take action. A lot of fans, if nothing happens in January.
There's a comment here, Brian.
I don't think all fans are going to just sit back and say that's okay.
Absolutely not. There's a comment here, Brian, saying, taking my words, by the way, grey cloud. But he says, I can feel the grey cloud coming again, especially after Conte's defeatist comments. This is exactly what I was saying, is that we've gone from, again, I don't really trust media and stuff anyway, but we've obviously seen reports recently of like Conte is due to have a meeting with Levy. Okay, so we saw Conte's conference, was it a week or so ago, where he said like, yeah, I've done my evaluation, waiting for the meeting. So now we've got a Conte in front of us after a Chelsea game saying, yeah, we need to be patient. Tell me now that meeting has not occurred in the last 24, 48 hours then, because there's no way you go from I've evaluated, we've got to go and do this, to now all of a sudden, out of nowhere saying, oh yeah, by the way, we have to, not necessarily this window, not necessarily the summer one, but it might be a longer one than that. The meeting's happened this week. There's no doubt about it, and you saw it in his face. I'm not even joking. I generally, from psychological behaviour, his body language, everything. I know we just got beaten by Chelsea and it was really poor, and he had the absolute right to be disappointed like we all are. But the fundamental fact of his complete language and narrative not only turned out as a PR nonsense Levi statement that usually comes out, but the fact that he was, as this person has said, it's not even a name, it's just a muddled up load of letters, but defeatist. And that is the immediate, it was an alarm bell. I mean, in my head, I've already thought about it since he first joined. Now we're in like the beginning of January. We've already mentioned clubs. We can't use an excuse to say, oh, it's a difficult market, it's difficult to get players in, when Joe Blogg's club down the road goes and does it in the first day or two, because they've done something called strategy planning for the last 6 months, not in January. Something has happened in the last 48 hours. The whole thing has now changed, and I feel like there's too much again now, and these next 3 weeks are extremely critical. If I was Conte, I'd be walking in February, because this isn't what I was brought in the club to do.
So every game we lose, if we lose this and then we lose to Arsenal and we got the Carabao Cup, that stadium, the pressure will heat up.
Yeah.
The pressure will heat up inside that stadium.
If we win them, it is slightly different.
It has to happen.
The grand scheme of things, like Brian has fundamentally said along the whole way. You guys have missed
out a huge bit, because what you've missed out is with this meeting with Conte and Levy, and I picked up on this yesterday, and I think I said it when I was in the studio. Why is Conte having this meeting with Levy? Isn't that Paratici's job? Paratici's job is there to sort the middleman out. That's exactly what his job is. The job of the director of football is to be the middleman between the manager and the owner. So why are we hearing from the club that Conte hasn't met Levy when it's not even really a necessity, because that's what Paratici's there to do? And why is it again? Why is it again that every club have their meetings? Funny enough, do you know what? Funny enough, I obviously I live in Canada and you live here, but I'm here at the moment. January is the same all year round, so you know when it's coming.
Yeah. So, strategy plan.
So you have a meeting. Exactly, you plan, like all businesses plan their year projectives in advance.
It's like your birthday, mate. It's the same time every year. You know it's coming.
Exactly.
So why are you surprised on the day?
Exactly. You don't go, oh, it's you know, when Daniel Levy didn't wake up today and go, do you know what? It's January the 5th. I knew I was missing something.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I need to do? Oh, you know it's coming. You know it's there. So I keep hearing this nonsense. Levy needs to meet Conte. No, he doesn't. That's exactly what Paratici was brought in for.
Yeah.
Paratici was apparently in charge of transfers.
He makes a really good point here. Massive. Brian, you make a great point here, buddy. You make a great point.
Mate, no, you know what? I was due one, mate. It was about time. But it's like, come on. People. Still, you and me have been like this for years and years and years. And there are other people like us. And more people are waking up to seeing it. So why do you bring a director of football? And Levy said, with his own words, in that Potsy video in the summer, Paratici has come part. He is taking over the football decisions. He is doing this. He is doing that. What's he doing? Playing hide and seek? gone missing, so we can't find him.
2 weeks after he started.
He used to be on the bench telling the referees what to do.
Yeah.
He's kind of left the dugout now, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think, Brian, I've got a message here, super chat. Brian, deliver us from Levy. Thou art my shepherd.
That's from Kuva.
Of course. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Kuva sent me a voice note today, and we all know Kuva is nice and chilled and whatever. Whoa, he flipped. Whoa, he flipped. But listen, I'm here for a longer time than I thought. And honestly, this is unacceptable. This is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. People have been saying, we've got to a semi-final again. This is progress. Is it progress to get to a semi-final and to get looked like mugs?
We got to one last year, so it's not really progress. We got to a final last year.
But this thing, everyone said this is the greatest time to play Chelsea, and I was one of them. I was one of them, thinking really positive.
I was that, yeah.
And honestly, the first half,
you guys need to listen to me.
I mean, well, no, I mean, where Ben's
good morning, everyone.
Ben and my seats were. We were like literally, we were in row 3, but they blocked the front 2 rows off. So we're like the very front row, just to the. If you're looking at Lloris when he was in goal in the first half, we were just to the left of him, and obviously you can't see the lines, but we were right up close, and it was so awful to watch.
Brian, can I ask you a question? Being up in the stands tonight at the match, what was the general conversation amongst the Spurs fans in the away end? Because obviously we've had different callers tonight talking about tactics, formation, subs. We had one great caller talking about accounts and finance, which is a good insight. You've come on obviously full blown Enoch Levy. What was it? What was the general conversation in the stand amongst our travelling away faithful?
So one thing I will say once again is the away support was absolutely phenomenal.
I heard
each
it. It was
and
very
every
good.
single one of them. I mean, when they're doing the it went on for like 15 minutes straight. I mean, literally, Chelsea was silenced by us. The fans, they don't deserve this. Yes, we only travelled across London. There's fans that travel the length and breadth of this country for this club that we love. And they get that. It is not acceptable. It's not on. Now, I mean, the main thing was just don't give the ball to Emerson when he's out wide, because that guy can't cross to save his life. Honestly, it's woeful. It's woeful. It was literally, you know what it was they were talking about? It's literally Chelsea are meant to be under strength at the moment, but when they attacked us within 2 passes, they were so direct and so fluid and straight at the throat of us. Whereas we were back, forward, back, pass. Let's go to the side, back, forward. There's no movement. There's no creativity. This is why Coutinho, for me, is a must to get in. It's a must
Anyone.
to get
I think
in.
he's going to Aston Villa or Newcastle, by the way.
Mate, he's going to Villa, mate, with Steven Gerrard. It's done deal. And I've already said, if that deal goes through and I'm live on air with Ben, I'm gonna go batshit crazy just for a change. But then I'll tell you what, right at the end, and I mean right at the end, there were a few get your checkbook out, you're bored. And there weren't any leave you out chance. There weren't any leave you out chance at all, but there was quite a few that started shouting. Obviously, he couldn't hear, but towards him. But it wasn't like the Man U game, that wonderful game where I got to hear that. But literally, there were
enough to be heard.
Whatever,
enough to be heard in the ground.
If you're in the way, don't get me wrong. There weren't like a song saying it was like the odd, I shout, get a move on, get close, whatever. It was like a few of those shouts from around the stadium, but it weren't sufficient. But
if we play like we did tonight, Brian, against Arsenal, it's not going to go down well, is it?
It's going to be
I'll tell you now, and I don't care who hears this. I don't care if the club find out. But if we perform against like Arsenal, when the ground empties, I will be staying in. I don't care if anyone wants to stay with me, and I will be staying there.
Even though we love Conte, and he should know that the boos and things, if they do come, are not aimed at him. That's going to have a significant effect, probably similar to what we had at the United game, in the sense that, Levy, you need to sort yourself out, mate, because you're now looking extremely, well, you're already embarrassing, but you're looking even more embarrassing now. You're a sore thumb, basically, because everyone's now like, Well, we can't blame the players. We can actually. They're crap. But we can't blame the manager. You've got a director of football. So who's doing all these decisions then? Well, it's you, isn't it? So you can't hide anymore. And that's why we were saying earlier with the George, I think it was, about Conte being probably the best thing to happen to us because we're in a win-win. We'll either get something out of it because he's an incredible manager, or he'll walk. I can't see him being sacked because there's no excuse for him to be sacked because the players are appalling. So he would walk, and then it's chaos time, right? But for me, even way before that all happens, if I see a performance like, in fact, I was covering it with John here, the Arsenal game away was appalling. We lost the 3-0. Yeah,
that was a shocking.
And I was livid. I was absolutely livid. Yeah. And then if we see that at home, like we did today, I don't care who plays. I do not care who plays in that team. If they play like they did tonight, it will go mental in that stadium. There's no doubt about it.
I do think at home though. I do think at home there is a different spirit about the team. I think. It's like I go back to what I've said again and again. My only concern under Conte has been away from home and against the top clubs. At home, like we did against Liverpool, even though they were slightly depleted, I do feel we will turn up. Whether we win or not is a different story. But I think at home, we won't see that. But so I agree. If that happens at home, the shit's going to hit the fan.
Losing's not fine.
Sorry, just quickly, because I'm going to need to go because Abdul's been waiting for ages. Yeah, Brent's are just going to bed and I'm going to start shouting and screaming and I do not need to.
Yeah, Brian, so very quick one, Brian, before you go. So there's a super chat here. My boys, stay calm and focused. The Italians got this. Do you think
That's from Iggy, by the
if
way.
we do not buy anyone in January, do you think Conte will still be here?
I think he'll still be here, but if it happens in the summer, goodbye. And he will make absolutely everyone know about it like he does. But what I will say, like I said, as you've said, and I think a load of us have said, us Levy Outers are in a win-win because either he gets backed and we win ship because he will win ship, or he walks like he did at Inter when people tried to sell his players or you couldn't get players in, and then everyone turns. So listen, I mean, obviously, I think I might have a little bit more to say when I'm in the studio tomorrow and can raise my voice a little bit. So that'll come. But Abdul has been waiting for ages. He even let me jump the queue because he's a top boy.
I'll reverse that tomorrow, Brian, and I'll call him while you're on here.
There we go. But you have to be quiet so your parents don't wake up as well. So guys, I will leave you to it. You've both done a wicked job. I will speak to you both soon. And in your honour, I'm just going to leave how I always do.
Yeah,
and as always, Levy out.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
See you later, Brian. Have a good one.
You're
as
live
always.
here on the late night show. I've got a 2-hour drive still to go. Abdul, what do you have to say about this Chelsea game and your thoughts in general about Tottenham right now?
First of all, before I start, both you guys have done a great job today with the watch along. You know, it's become a habit for me to where like I can't watch a football game and listen to the commentators. I don't know, something about football commentators just boring.
Abdul, be honest. Is it time for Ben and Sim to step down and for Coach Stell and Crypto Sai to take over the watch-alongs?
Man, we got to hold the vote now. It's starting to become a vote.
Ben and Sim, we need a January vote, Judgment Day.
The referendum is in.
Big up Ben and Sim. And also, congratulations again for the 100,000. Unbelievable achievement.
Absolutely
Big up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, congrats on the 100K subs. That's definitely a huge milestone. But to go up on the game, like, to be honest, like when I first looked at the formation and I looked at the players that we had starting, obviously I was a little bit hesitant when I did see Matt Doherty and I did see us playing with like a double pivot because we know that Chelsea, like, their strength is in their midfield. Even though they were missing Conte and Kovacic, which are like their two best midfielders. Again, they do still have Mason Mount, who's extremely good with the ball, quick feet, good in tight spaces. Hakeem Ziyech, he's not really a winger. Actually, like even though he does play out wide, like his game style is more of like he's very good with the ball in tight spaces. And you have Kai Havertz, very good with the ball in tight spaces. They're all extremely good, press
Abdul,
resistant players.
sorry to interrupt. Hakim Ziyech, he's a wide player, but he always cuts inside and he overloads the midfield. So I agree with you. He might not look like a wide player because he always comes in, but he is. But his movement is always more into the middle.
Exactly. Yeah. Like when I seen their formation, like I looked on like the score. I'm not sure if it's that accurate, but like when I looked at their formation, it was like a 4-2-3-1, where like usually like the left mid and right mid was both Ziyech and Mason Mount, but like they're more of like center mids because they're constantly, drifting towards the middle, and it's just causing just a cluster of Chelsea players in the center. And I was kind of hesitant when I see that we were playing with only two CMs. I kind of felt like we would do a little bit better with like, three CMs. I guess it would help a little bit more. And it probably did help in the second half. We played a little bit better, but we still got outplayed. And I'm not sure if we played better because Chelsea decided that it was time to kind of keep a clean sheet, because the last thing Chelsea would want is to kind of give us a goal and go into the Tottenham Stadium with a 1 goal deficit, because you don't want to give them hope, but you don't want to go all out attack to go for that third goal, because again you don't want to concede. And it's and I guess I was kind of right, but like we dominated in the midfield. Like Chelsea was extremely well. The way they were passing the ball, I've seen a lot of games from them, and I haven't seen them play that well in the midfield in a while. I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was because of simply they were just up for the game because it was Tottenham, and it's a rivalry, or they kind of felt like since the Premier League is kind of out of their grasp, they need to kind of relieve the blow and relieve the end of the season failure with a couple of cups that they can pick up, and definitely the League Cup. They're probably favorites for that, them or Liverpool. But like we were dominated, and like again, like the formation that we were playing with, like a 3-4-3 or whatever you want to look at, or like a 3-4-2-1, however you want to slice it. I do feel like our midfielders is definitely not good enough with the ball. Like I think our main weakness is we don't have enough composure on the play. The players don't have enough composure. It's extremely easy to press this Tottenham team. You look at the back line, like before they make a pass, it's like as if they're telling the Chelsea players where they're going to make the pass to. Like they're looking at the Tottenham Hotspur, like Davinson Sanchez, he played a pass to like for Chelsea's first goal, our own goal. Tanganga playing like that hospital pass to Emerson Royale. It's like he didn't put enough weight on it, but I mean, before he passes it to Emerson Royale, it's like he takes like 3 dribbles and moves a little bit closer to Royale, and he's looking at him eye to eye for like a good 3-4 seconds, and it's very easy for the Chelsea player to know where he's going to pass the ball to, and he just
it's like when you play FIFA, Abdul. You know when they're going to pass it, but you want your player to go faster, but it won't. But they're going to pass it there, but you can't get there. It was exactly that principle of you're watching something happening before it happens.
I'll say like the word that kind of sums it up is like anticipation. It's really easy for the opposing players to anticipate where we're going to pass the ball, because it's like it's again, like at least Chelsea, like you kind of know where they're going to pass the ball to, but again, they play quick passes that, it doesn't really give you enough time to, because, the famous saying is that, nobody's faster than the ball. So like, it doesn't matter where you think he's going to pass it to. If that guy passes it with enough speed and velocity, you're not going to get it. It doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are. So like, again, like we don't have enough ball players. I think that's where we kind of lack. And I don't think it's like our destroyers in the midfield. And to be honest, I don't think if a player like Frank Kessie would have really made an impact. Again, people think, like I've seen him play a couple games, and he's not that. Again, like he's better than Højbjerg on the ball, but he's not that 1-2 player, the quick passes. He's not that type of player. We need like a Jorginho, somebody who can quickly pass the ball, take one touch, turn around, pass it, and just keep the ball moving, that's kind of where my I guess that's kind of like where I think we need to kind of have more emphasis on is just moving the ball with a lot more velocity, a lot more quicker, and I don't think Skip and Højbjerg is good enough to do that against Chelsea. They can do that against a Southampton or Watford or Norwich or a mid-table team, or even like Everton. But when you're coming against a, like a top team like a Chelsea, where they're basically playing with like 5 center mids, because like Mason Mount is extremely good on the ball. And yeah, sorry, go continue.
I was
Oh,
agreeing with
sorry.
you. Sorry,
Oh
carry on.
yeah, I thought you were about to say something because I heard you like take a deep breath. But like yeah, like that's definitely where we're kind of lacking. And again, like so there's different ways to kind of beat that press. You either need like some press resistant players, like a Musa Dembele or something, or you need players like who can either resist pressure either through their quick dribbling like Musa Dembele, or just somebody with like a big body who can just hold up their man like Harry Kane. And unfortunately, I don't think a player like Lucas Moura or Heung-min Son falls into that category. It's Lucas Moura is good when he has space to run into, but again, Chelsea are so good at making the pitch seem so small. Like, it seemed like we were playing on a basketball court rather than a football field. Like the way they were just clogging up all the spaces is like, where do you go at that point? And I do think that it's not only down to Conte's tactics. I do think it also comes down to just having the energy. Like, for example, like the moment where Azpilicueta, when he fouled Tanguy Ndombele on a slight little counterattack, and then Antonio Rudiger boots the ball into Ndombele's head.
Yeah.
It's like where's the teammates to help out Ndombele? You have to kind of talk to the referee, or because Rudiger, he's like shithouser. He does it a lot. Like he's really good at making these little
slides. Wasn't it the red card?
Yes.
Exactly. Like he's really good at, like influencing the referee's decisions, and he's really good at making these rough tackles seem like accidental. Like you see him do it in the Champions League final with Kevin De Bruyne, how he took him off and injured him in the final. You see him do this a lot. He always makes these little slide tackles, and sometimes you need to, step up to him. Like I know Rudiger's a big guy now, but like you gotta step up for your teammate Ndombele, and I feel like the team spirit was kind of drained from the Spurs team. And the score was evident, in the game style, and how the game went was evident. We didn't. It's like there's like a victim mentality whenever Tottenham comes up against a Chelsea, especially, or like a top four team. They kind of feel like they're happy to be in that position, and they kind of feel like they're not good enough to beat Chelsea, like play for play. So it's definitely not a good spot to be at. And I, in terms of like who I think we should definitely look into, so like I just really want players who are composed on the ball. I'm not really looking for players that can, I guess, take on their man. Like I know Brian Gill, he did a really good job when he kind of spun Pulisic and he created an opportunity, but I just want my players to kind of just have the ability to take the ball under pressure, because that's what you need against a Chelsea. Again, they're so good at pressing you, and you just need to just have the composure, just take a deep breath and relax. There was a couple of opportunities where the ball kind of landed on Højbjerg and he had space, but he just offered to just boot the ball up the pitch. And I'm like, you have enough space. Like you can take the ball, you can turn around, and you can look at your teammates. You don't always have to clear the ball. But that's just, I guess, that I don't know how you kind of work on that. I don't think a lot of these players are well equipped for that, and I don't think I think it's kind of unfair for Conte to kind of try to transform these players. I just feel like I'm sick and tired of like new managers coming in, and it's like they're kind of rebranding the current players that we do have. Kind of rebranding them, and it's like
as well.
Rebranding the current players is so true.
So yeah, it's like I know these players. I know Eric Dyer. I know you, Dennis. I know you. Yeah, exactly.
So Abdul, like we've got some critical games, irrespective of transfers coming in and out, of course, but we got some critical games coming up, in the sense that we got Chelsea obviously for leg 2. One, do you think that we can get a performance out of that one? And then 2, we got Arsenal after that, and then Chelsea again, both of those being the Premier League. Based on tonight, And Steros made a good point earlier about the influx of December. Obviously, yeah, appreciate its tiredness, but I don't think that's much of an excuse because we had 2 games postponed where a lot of other clubs didn't. And I think players, to be fair, train and get stamina practice to not worry about that, in my opinion. But we're now in a strange position where, I mean, Stelios mentioned it, like the last couple of games haven't been amazing. We've been quite lucky in some instances. So we're now playing. I personally don't think Chelsea are amazing this season. I still think they're a top team, but I think they're way off, obviously, City, for example. But they're still in the mix of around where we're trying to be, but we are still quite far behind them. So what do you think out of these next Chelsea games and Arsenal game, based on tonight's performance, do you think we're going to get anything out of them? Or do you think it's just going to basically pretty much promote the idea that Stelios was saying and many other people out there that we are just pretty average. We need to wake up to that. We've been lucky to have maybe lower teams or easier teams, and we're way off what we need to do, and we just need to obviously do what we can in the markets and stuff. So what do you think we can do in the next few games? Do you think it could be like what we've seen tonight, or do you think we're going to get a reaction from our players in those next games?
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna first talk about I guess we have the Arsenal game coming first before Chelsea, or is it Chelsea?
Chelsea
I'm not sure.
is before Arsenal.
Yeah, Chelsea,
Okay,
Arsenal, Chelsea.
Okay, I guess
We've got
I guess I'll
Chelsea
go
again
to
after Arsenal, like Si said in the
yeah,
league.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. But I'll just start with Chelsea first since we have them beforehand. In terms of like, I'm gonna be completely honest. In terms of like, can we get a result? Yeah, we could probably beat them by like 1 goal, but I'm not really too optimistic when it comes to, I guess, reversing the tie. Obviously, we can get lucky. We can score an early goal, then in the 80th
You
minute we
think
score.
Chelsea are going to knock us out?
Yeah, because the thing about Chelsea is it's kind of built into their system to defend resolutely. I think like there's certain teams that have like their own DNA. Like, there's Arsenal that have their own DNA with like the pretty football, and then I think for Chelsea, I think their DNA is just being able to win and just being able to defend resolutely. Like, you could go in terms of like their history and the signings that they do have that they've made. We always seem to kind of buy like these extremely athletic, physical midfielders with like Makalele to N'Golo Kante to like Antonio Rudiger, and
it's called quality, Abdul. It's called quality.
Yeah, and I think that like that's one of the reasons why like Chelsea has probably been like, I guess, Barcelona's kryptonite, because even when Barcelona was dominant in like like the early 2010s, like the 08 and stuff to 2009, Chelsea has always like been able to like get a result from a team like Barcelona, because it's the way they're structured, the way they've defended, and it seems like it's constantly, it's kind of transcended, eras and teams. And
sorry to interrupt you, Abdul. I think with Chelsea as well, one of the biggest factors is, and this comes from Abramovich and the way he treats his managers and the way they quickly remove players that aren't working, even if they spent big money, is the winning mentality in that club is like second to none, even above City. Yeah. City still want a philosophy. Chelsea just want to win, and that's why they're the most successful club in the last 15 years. Abramovich, you don't deliver in 6 months, you're out. Player, coaching staff, medical team. It's a very, very ruthless club. I'm not a fan, but that winning mentality is second to none, I think.
Exactly. That's pretty much like exactly how I wanted to summarize it. Like, Chelsea, like, they don't really have like their DNA is just to win at any means possible. That's pretty much like their slogan that they should go by. Like, and I feel like it's the way they won the Champions League last year. Look at how their route to the final and how they won it. I think they probably conceded the least amount of goals in Champions League history, and it's just like that's just the way they do it. And I feel like coming into this game, I was kind of confident because I've always said leading up to this game, as long as N'Golo Kante doesn't play, we have a good chance of, penetrating that midfield and creating chances and scoring abundance of goals. And, the way they just pass by us, and, they have Jorginho in the midfield, who's pretty much like a defensive, who's lacking defensive ability and not really that athletic. And you didn't even realize that they had Jorginho. They had Marcus
he didn't
Alonso.
Start tonight, Jorginho.
Are you sure he didn't start?
Let me double check.
I think I remember. I'm sure.
I can definitely.
You might be right. I've had a long day, so.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
You being right.
So we have Arsenal after that.
I'm pretty sure
Chelsea
it was
game, Abdul.
Jorginho. Jorginho Soundiguez was
probably
the
right,
center.
buddy. Yeah, he did start. You're right. I'm wrong.
Yeah, and like Marcus Alonso, like they had him on the wing, and before the games, we were like when we were looking at the starting lineup, we were saying, okay, like Lucas Moura should be licking his lips, and Emerson Royale, because Marcus Alonso is just a defensive liability. You seen the game against Liverpool how Mo Salah scored easily. He just dropped the shoulder, created space, and he slotted it home easily.
Abdul, do you know what I think is the problem at the moment? Okay, when we've got a manager that's got a very he knows the system he wants to play, and it does involve these high attacking wing backs, and it does involve having 3 in the middle, 2 up top, sometimes 3. What I'm finding with Conte and this team at the moment is we can play this system against lesser teams and it will work. Where we come unstuck is where a team presses us. So a team like Liverpool, who do like to play that aggressive press, that's when you've got to change it. And funnily enough, against Liverpool, he changed it. We went down the middle, again, partly because he knew there were certain players missing, but he changed the way we played. And he caught us all by surprise, and he caught Liverpool by surprise. And really, we should have won that game. Okay, I think what Conte needs to do, if he's not going to get the players he wants to make his system, and I'm talking about now, not in the future, but if he's not going to get the players he wants now, those 3 or 4 players, so that he can keep playing his system and make the system work, he needs to accept that this squad isn't good enough to play a system in every game. And when you come up against a team that's really good on the ball, like you described Chelsea, who will press the way Chelsea did, we cannot play this system because our players will let us down time and time again because they cannot play this system. The best managers adapt. I take you back to when Antonio Conte was the manager of Chelsea. He got battered by Arsenal 3-0. What did he do? He changed his system, his formation, his tactic. He went on to win the league. Maybe, I'm not saying this will happen, but maybe he will look at tonight and say, right, that can't happen again. I cannot allow this to happen again. I'm going to change it. And this obsession with 3-5-2 or...
We don't have the players.
Yeah, I need to find option 1 and option 2. When I play Man City, when I play Chelsea, when I play Liverpool, maybe Arsenal, I'm going to go to option 2. But for the other games, we can work with option 1. Something like that needs to happen, because if we're going to keep trying to play this system of these wing backs in every single game, teams that press and teams that are possession based, they're going to cause us problems. And funnily enough, we went to Southampton, they pressed us. We that first half, it was all Southampton. He needs to find option 2 for when teams press and when they're good at possession. That's what I see when I watch us on a tactical basis.
Yeah, just to answer like the last bit of the question, against Arsenal, see, like Arsenal is a weird team because, like against Arsenal, like the way they press is very similar to how Chelsea can press us, and
Arsenal,
the way Southampton, Arsenal they're a very good team at pressing with like their shape. Like they don't just grab the striker and just rush at the defender. They have a shape to how they press. You can see
tactical press,
exactly, and I can definitely see the wingers like Bukayo Saka causing a lot of issues, and it'll be a tough team to play against because the thing about Arsenal is
if we go
they
with
have
option 1.
they have goals. They have goals coming from a lot of areas of their pitch. They also have a lot of creative midfielders. They have like Emil Smith-Rowe, who can drift out wide, and he can also cut down the middle. And then, Odegaard can do the same. And you have Bukayo Saka that can kill you through the width. And it's going to be extremely tough. I guess the only way we can kind of get a result off of them, unfortunately, it probably would be like a counter-attacking system. Because when it comes to like simply playing, mano a mano, like I feel like Arsenal is a lot more composed and they have a lot more time with their manager, and I guess it's kind of showing. Even though we do have the better manager, again, you have a manager that's been there for 2 months compared to a manager that's been there for about 2 years. It's going to show. So,
Abdul, I'll tell you how you beat Arsenal. It's the same way I'd play against Chelsea. Aggressively press them so they can't get that passing game going, and overload the midfield, because just like Chelsea, Arsenal like to dominate that midfield. If you overload the midfield, don't let them dominate the midfield, and you press them high, get into them, we can beat Arsenal and we can beat Chelsea in the second leg. But this is what I'm talking about, option 2. We have to go to that. There has to be a second way. If we do that, don't be surprised if we do find joy in those games. But I'm not Conte. I don't see the players every day. I don't train them. I'm suggesting what I would do if I was coaching this team. Conte's a smart guy, man. I still think in the second leg at White Hart Lane, he will come up with something. He has to.
The unfortunate truth is, the last kind of couple of performances we had against Arsenal, they have been kind of dominating the possession of the game. And the games in which we did win, like I remember Toby Alderweireld scoring a late header, and obviously the game we played against them last with Heung-min Son scoring a banger. Like a lot of time, Arsenal is the one kind of controlling the game. And even Conte, even since he's been here, I don't think there's been a time in which he's kind of came out the gate firing. He's usually taken a more conservative approach until maybe the 30th minute, and then after that we kind of grow into the game. But the truth is, if you do allow Arsenal to dominate the midfield, it's going to be hard to kind of reclaim that battle, and you can definitely find yourself going down 1-0, 2-0, and you don't want to play against Arsenal that can counterattack.
No.
Even though they may not be that great at it, but again, they do have lethal players up front. But I do think we can still pick up a result. It's going to be difficult. I'm probably saying honestly a 1-1, to be quite honest with you, just from the performance that I've seen today. But we can definitely pick up a 1-0 or a 2-1 win. Arsenal is a type of team that, even though they are a good team, especially this year, they are a bit inexperienced, and they usually seem to make a lot of mistakes, whether it's allowing the runner to run off them or just simply conceding a penalty or getting a red card.
Upset Xhaka a bit and upset a few of the younger players who are a bit naive.
Exactly.
Tactical
warfare.
To
answer your question,
Abdul, we're going to leave that there, but thanks very much for calling in. I think we have one more after you, but really appreciate that, and hopefully we'll see you in the next watch along.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Have a great day, and peace out.
Abdul, respect. Take care, buddy.
Take care, man.
All right.
Vinny, what are we saying? Are we? That's it. Vinny's fallen asleep, so we're done. We're done here, guys. So really appreciate everyone that's joined us. We don't usually go on this long. I'm surprised I'm still awake, to be honest. So it was a good 6 or 7 hour session here, mate. The time has flown. We've enjoyed it. So any last remarks, my dear friend Stelios?
I'm going to end it on a positive. We're still in the tie, and we take that on to the next game.
My last words, very much that I think we can still do this. I'm very slightly concerned about this January and the momentum of whether we're going to get some transfers in or not. But that will remains to be seen. But guys, thanks for joining us wherever you are in the world. I'm assuming that you're either crazy like us and staying up late here in the UK, or you've joined us from overseas. Either way, thanks for doing that. And we will see you all hopefully very soon. And don't forget to join the guys tomorrow. I think they're doing their post-match show or
Good Morning Tottenham, and then shows throughout the day.
Brilliant.
There is just one more thing, guys. If you are into crypto, I know it's a bit off topic, or metaverse, make sure you go to the YouTube channel, The Whales of Wall Street, which is Si's channel.
It's a top channel.
Subscribe and like, and we've got to plug your channel as well, buddy.
Of course, mate. No, please do join us on there. But absolutely, guys, thanks very much for joining us, and we hope to see you very soon. Don't forget to watch the guys tomorrow on the post-match show, doing their review of the game, and I'm sure many other things and call-ins, etc. So let's go, Tottenham. Another day, another dollar. Let's go and beat Morecambe, and let's hopefully turn up for the next leg at home against Chelsea.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.